they are deliberately made quiet. Nothing hectic. Yes.
Hauna madrama mingi?
No.
No. Okay.
I spent most of it indoors. Yes, reading.
Okay. Good stuff. The president of Ghana was in Kenya.
Yes, Mr. Kahama.
Yes, on Friday.
Exactly, Mahama, not Kahama, sorry.
Mahama, yes. He was in Kenya. The president, our president, that is, President Ruto, gave him a chance to salimia wananchi. And he said, the way Kenya and Ghana have got good cordial relations. And I agree. A lot of Kenyans actually are in Ghana. Something significant he said is that, we need to get back to what the forefathers who, fought for freedom for African countries were envisioning for these individual countries. And for me, I felt like he was telling us generally as a continent, it's like tumesahau ile sababu tulipigania uhuru wetu. Na ni kama alikuwa anatuambia kiplani tu chini ya maji wase. Hebu turudini hapo ndio tuone venye tuta streamline this continent. He spoke about even the wealth of the continent in terms of the minerals and our rich culture and history. And I was like, this is actually someone who, and what he has done for Ghana, he has done a lot of good stuff for Ghana. Ghanaians are happy with their president, at least from what I have seen and read. He's also, dealing a lot with China for the development of Ghana, and it's working. It's paying off those bilateral relations. So President Mahama knows a thing or two about how we can get this continent back on track.
My friend.
Yes, sir.
This continent is interesting. While we were celebrating our independence, people who dared oppose President Museveni,
yes,
got beaten to smithereens.
Okay.
But we'll look at that later.
Definitely. All right. So today is 15th of December 2025. We are smack in the middle of the month. So we have 16 days to the end of the year. I don't know. Siti, how does that make you feel?
It makes me start thinking of January.
Yeah.
So my thoughts are in January.
Ushafika January.
Hata nishapita.
My friend.
I'm actually in March.
Yes. It has just hit me that we are literally 16 days to the end of the year. Well, first of all, we're 10 days to Christmas, which is a good thing. But my goodness, we are literally 16 days to the end of the year. And that, my friends, it makes me start thinking of the fact that I'm also going to be turning a year older in a couple of months. It makes me think of what I want to achieve as I turn that year older. Like literally, we're going to be seeing a different year. And of course, we know politically, a lot is going to happen next year, campaigns and all. We're going to see a lot of political shifting. Nani ataenda kwa nani, nani ataacha nani, nani atazaliwa katika huu political dispensation mpya yenye tutakuwa tunaingia. Interesting stuff ahead, guys. Anyway, today being the 15th day of December 2025, in 1787, apparently in Pennsylvania, these are politics and law, Pennsylvania ratified the U.S. Constitution. This is in 1787. And then in 1941, Adolf Hitler declares the imminent extermination of Jews. Can you believe that? Yes. 1941, because it actually happened. So yeah. Adolf Hitler declared the imminent extermination of Jews. This was shortly after the Second World War started, right? Because it started in 1939. So 2 years in, Adolf Hitler decided what he said. And then, last but not least, in 1961, Adolf Eichmann, a key Nazi official, is sentenced to death in Israel. Yeah, 1961, Adolf Eichmann, a key Nazi official, is sentenced to death in Israel. There is a documentary, and actually they even made a movie out of it, of a gentleman who is believed to have been a Nazi. He was like a prison warden during that time when Nazis were taking Jews into concentration camps. Walifuata jamaa mpaka Argentina, arrested him, kidnapped him. Now this is Mossad, the spy agency for Israel. They identified this person in Argentina. They kidnapped him, abducted him for lack of a better word, because at the time, they didn't find any other way to get this person to Israel. And then he was taken to Israel and was taken through a trial process. And he was definitely found guilty and sentenced to death.
When people commit such atrocities,
Yeah.
there's often the mistaken perspective that you will not be held to account. There's since there was a war, they assumed they were going to win the war, and if they won the war, then who on earth was going to take them to court?
Yeah.
Now that didn't happen. When you treat people the way these individuals treated the Jews,
Yeah.
there's an element of impunity embedded in your actions.
Yeah.
It's like there will be no accounting for it. And then the day of reckoning arrives.
Yes.
A number of people who had overseen the killing of all these people, some committed suicide, some tried to escape, some went and faced their jail, the court hearings.
Yes.
It's like we human beings, our learning process through history at best is slow. Years later,
Yes.
the very people whose ancestors were killed in Germany
Yeah.
and in Warsaw are doing the same thing to the Palestinians. Same. Same
Okay.
in the 21st century.
Yeah. In the 21st century. So it's actually that Adolf Eichmann gentleman who was tracked down in 1960 in Argentina. Then he was abducted. They literally had to abduct him just so that he could face trial. And of course, he was sentenced to death and executed. And he denied that he was the one through the entire trial. They produced all sorts of evidence, pictures, statements. Lots and lots of people who had been detained at the time came out as witnesses in the specific prison where they had the concentration camp. Let me call it that because it wasn't really a prison. That was worse. A prison is, there's a level of decency in a prison. For this one, zero decency. People were raped, murdered. Others were, whipped on a daily. They were tortured. Different ways of torturing. It was a crazy. Have you watched this movie called Escape from Sobibor? You should find it. And also for the listener, find it and watch it. It's actually a sad one. Let me just give you a disclaimer in advance. It's a really sad one. Escape from Sobibor. Sobibor was one of the concentration camps, and it was in Poland. And a lot of these atrocities we talk about happened at that particular place. A lot of torture. People were fed to dogs, literally. Trains would arrive with hundreds of people. And they mkishuka tu hivi kwa train, that's why they would make the distinction of who is going to survive and who's going to live. Of course, women and children didn't go anywhere. Only the strong women, specifically the ones who are young, who could do chores like sewing, cleaning, those ones were left alive. But any woman who's pregnant, anyone who is old, like above the ages of say 50, who doesn't look like they don't have any skill, they're not a doctor, they're not a carpenter, those ones killed. Old men as well, who were weak and couldn't do anything, also killed off at that particular time. That thing they called the Holocaust. It was crazy. So wow, if you can get time, go find that movie. It's called Escape from Sobibor. A very interesting and sad one. It gives
leaders, there are leaders in Latin America.
Yes.
Who did worse things. Yes.
Okay.
And many of them
Yes.
were toppled. There is a reason why socialism was so popular in Latin America. Because very many of these countries and these dictators, they were brutal people. Many of them were supported by the USA.
Okay.
Yes. So when they were overthrown, whether it is Castro and his people, the Sandinista, these fellows had enough of these leaders.
Fidel Castro alikuwa mbaya hivyo?
No, Fidel Castro alikuwa si mbaya.
Yeah.
Fidel Castro overthrew a gentleman called Batista. Batista was a horrible person. Horrible person.
Huyo ndio alitolewa sasa.
For a revolution to work, the people must support it.
Yeah. Okay.
Now remember, that country that Castro and his people built.
Yes.
If you're talking about the ratio of patients to doctors per capita, from the highest in the world, teacher to student ratio per capita, probably the highest in the world.
Okay.
So when people talk to you here about universal health and they go around twiddling their thumb and picking their noses, they should understand
Yes.
that other people have done it. There is a deliberateness that is required and a certain focus.
Yes.
It gets done. Yes.
Sawa sawa. Let's get into methali ya leo.
We are in Congo Brazzaville.
All right.
Not DRC, Brazzaville.
Congo Brazzaville. This is now the other Congo.
The other Congo. And the capital is Brazzaville. That's why you hear me saying Brazzaville. I'm very happy with this Brazzaville thing.
Hii ndio wanaitanga Republic of the Congo.
This is Republic of the Congo.
Okay.
Of the Congo. Okay. An interesting country, this one. Very, very interesting.
Yes.
Very many interesting things about it. We will be looking at the details of those interesting things. But for now, let us look at the Proverbs and let us start.
Okay.
The rain does not fear the authority of a king.
The rain doesn't?
Fear the authority of a king. Siwe ni mfalme?
Yeah.
Mvua haijali, it has.
You know, when you say the rain doesn't fear the authority of a king, I thought you meant like the reign of King Leopold.
REIGN. No.
Hii ni mvua.
Hii ni mvua.
Mvua yani.
Ile mvua na nyesa.
All right. The rain doesn't fear the authority of a king.
Has no worse with the king. King, you be as king as you like.
Yeah. It will rain.
The rain will do its thing.
And it will rain on you
if you haven't taken cover, Mr. King, it will rain on you.
I like that.
You like it?
I like that. Yeah. This is all about nature. Nature, we are the ones who need to respect nature. Otherwise, if we do not respect nature, then nature shall definitely retaliate. Remember that time Mutahi Kagwe was telling us, if you treat this virus normally, it will treat you abnormally. So nature doesn't play. Oh, I absolutely love that guy. Yeah? Mutahi Kagwe, cabinet secretary right now. He's cabinet secretary for agriculture, right?
He is.
Yeah.
One of those fellows who you don't hear him unless he feels there's a need for him to speak. You'll even forget that he's there.
Yes. All right. He's one of those fellows that are, a very normal fellow. We absolutely enjoy his company. Let us check what's happening on radiogeneration.co.ke. That's where you'll find all the trending stories, all the stories that made headlines for the last couple of hours. So if you have been in Ushago like myself and you've just landed back to Nairobi and you're wondering, what happened while I was away? Well, check us out on radiogeneration.co.ke. You can also follow us on our various social media channels. That is at Radio Gen KE on X, on TikTok, on Facebook. It's Radio Generation Kenya. That is where, again, you will find these stories. And if you want to see us live, we're currently streaming on our YouTube channel. That is, the channel is Radio Generation Kenya. And we are also streaming on our website. That is radiogeneration.co.ke. So you can hit several birds with one stone, literally, if you check us out on those particular platforms. All right, let's see what is on the first trending stories. Cyrus Jirongo to be buried on December 30th, according to the family. All right. The burial of the late former Lugari Member of Parliament, Cyrus Jirongo, has been set for Tuesday, December 30th, 2025, according to his family. The ceremony will take place at his Lumakanda home in Lugari constituency, Kakamega County. The burial arrangements were confirmed on Sunday by a funeral committee chaired by former Westlands Member of Parliament, Fred Gumo, which addressed the media after a consultative meeting. Speaking on behalf of the committee, former Senator Boni Halwale said the late Jirongo will be laid to rest at his family homestead in Lumakanda next to his parents. We have constituted a committee to coordinate the funeral arrangements for our brother, Halwale said. And the committee noted that the former KANU stalwart will be buried beside his late parents. Jirongo died in a tragic road accident along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway on Saturday, December 13th, 2025. The driver of the Climax Company bus involved in the crash that claimed Jirongo's life recounted how he made a split-second decision to protect the 65 passengers aboard, even as the collision became unavoidable. We were just talking about that accident before we started the show. Looked at some of the pictures, of course, of the accident. The bus, nikilinganisha na gari ya mheshimiwa, that bus took a proper beating. Yeah. But gari ya mheshimiwa, that Mercedes Benz, I was looking at it and I said, there's no way someone was going to survive this. Because the impact looked like it was a major one. I don't know who was speeding. Was it the bus? Was it Mheshimiwa? But man,
such matters, I wait for those who are schooled in determining such matters to bring their report. Then I'll read.
Yeah.
I never speculate on these things.
True.
I never speculate. I've read what has been said so far.
Yes.
I'm waiting to hear more. Yes.
Niliangalia hiyo picha ya gari yenyewe ya hiyo Mercedes. It's a Mercedes Benz E350. Now if you know this vehicle, number one, it's a strong vehicle. It has a lot of horsepower, and that means that it can really go fast. Even if it was at a standstill, picking up acceleration for that vehicle, it's not difficult to pick up acceleration. Like when you talk about 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, this vehicle wouldn't take more than 10 seconds to achieve that acceleration. So if Mheshimiwa was trying to overtake, because it was clearly a collision, so was he trying to overtake another vehicle? Was he... Because according to the driver, he said, the Mercedes was exiting a petrol station on the highway and I was heading to Busia from Nairobi. The driver did not give way and instead overlapped into my lane because there was traffic on his side. Yeah. With 65 passengers on board and only seconds to react, Kamau said he realized that swerving sharply off the road could have caused the bus to overturn. I was carrying 65 people when I tried to avoid the collision. I realized the bus would roll, so I decided to save the 65 passengers, he said. So from this perspective, again, not speculating, but I would tell that Mheshimiwa aliona, hii traffic haisongi, let me chani niondoke.
At 3 in the morning.
At 3 in the morning.
Traffic.
Whatever the case, there was a vehicle in front of him. That's enough to be traffic. So he said, you know what, hii gari iko mbele yangu inaenda polepole sana, let me do what? Acha niondoke. He joined the wrong lane and kaboom. So I would say that the bus is the one that was going at a significant amount of speed.
As I told you, I'm not going to speculate. I know there was an accident. I know that Jirongo lost his life.
Yes.
The details of what actually happened, I will wait for.
Right. So something I didn't know is that, something worth noting rather, is that Jirongo served as a minister for rural development in March of 2002 under former President Daniel Moi.
Yes.
Yeah, and he held the position until December of that year, wakati ambapo serikali ilibadilika. That time we had not by-elections, general elections. Yeah, he represented Lugari constituency in parliament between 1997 and 2002, and again from 2007 to 2013. In 2022, he ran for the Kakamega gubernatorial seat on United Democratic Party ticket, but lost to Fernandez Barasa of the Orange Democratic Movement. Jirongo had a long and varied career in politics and business. In 2017, he contested the presidency under UDP, but garnered only 11,000 votes, representing 0.07% of the total votes cast. Here's the funny thing. I can't remember him running for president.
When you get 11,000 votes in a presidential election, who is going to remember you? Unless you're the sort of person who wants to recall the bizarre 11,000 votes.
I voted in 2017. I can't even remember seeing his name on the ballot.
You wouldn't remember because you forget that there are very few people in this country who have actually had a currency nicknamed after them.
Oh, what do you mean?
The 500 shilling note was known as a Jirongo.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, it was.
Clearly, where I came from, I didn't.
No, it's your time, guy.
Yeah.
It was before your time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sawa.
It was before your time.
Sawa.
Yes.
I remember in 2017, I remember a couple of people including Abdu Badida. Yeah, nakumbuka akitupatia advice ya vile tunafaa kukula githeri.
Abdullah Dida was actually quite he was a very good interlocutor. He spoke well. Yes.
I also remember there was this lady called Fazoldin. I'm forgetting her name, bana.
I know the lady you're talking about.
Yes, but yeah, I only remember the Fazoldin name. She ran for president as well. That one I remember very well because she was very vocal.
She was extremely vocal.
Why people didn't vote for her is beyond me.
Why is it beyond you?
But funny thing is, at the time of the presidential candidates that we had from Kina Raila, the former President Uhuru, I thought Abdu Badida was a good candidate.
Abdul, he spoke well.
Yes, he did.
He made sense.
Right.
Yes.
And so why people chose
we don't elect presidents because they speak well, chief.
tungemchagua Abdu Badida, sasa Kenya ingekuwa mbali sana.
Let me repeat what I've just said. People are not chosen because they speak well. There are people who speak really well.
Yes.
Really, really well.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that you meet the measure that is required for someone to be the president of a country. No.
Haya, sawa. But mimi kitu nakwambia sitini kana kwamba tungemchagua Abdu Badida.
Wewe na nani?
Wakenya wenzangu. Mimi na Wakenya wenzangu.
You know I'm also a Kenyan.
Si ndio?
And I definitely would not have voted for him.
Why? Why? He's a teacher.
He was a maverick.
Spoke really well, like you said.
I myself am a former teacher.
So. Yeah, it's okay. He made lots of sense.
Making sense and being able to run a country are two very different things.
Okay, why are you saying that he's unable to run a country? From your perspective.
There is absolutely nothing that he has done.
To demonstrate.
Nothing. There was nothing he had done to show that he could actually run a constituency, run a ward, nothing.
So you are the people who believe that someone should start somewhere before they go
you must.
For the big seats.
Oh, yes, you must. You have to be able to demonstrate what you've done.
Wajakoya?
No.
Even him?
Wajakoya, just for information, is my friend.
It's okay.
But no. I would not vote for him. As the president? No. I would not.
But these fellows that have experience, these fellows who've been MPs, fellows who've been, governors, probably even senator, what have they done? Because
if people who have the experience fare that badly, imagine what would happen with someone who has never had experience.
Mimi ninasema mtu mwenye amesema anataka kuwa president na atupatie a sound manifesto and a sound way of doing things, huyo ndio tunafaa kuchagua.
Your candidates of the ilk that you speak of,
damned, yes.
If they get 10,000 votes in the country, they'll be lucky. That's a presidential election.
Yeah.
In fact, some of them will probably get 5.
Haya. Sawa.
Na gazeti ya kufunga nyama.
Hawa tunasema tuwapatie kura sababu wako na experience.
The problem is not just the experience. Somebody who has the experience, everybody has to play their part. It isn't that the president plays his part. Everybody plays their part.
Okay.
We suspend and we, for temporarily, determine that we are going to give the powers we have to some other people. When you employ somebody to work for you, you supervise their work.
Yeah.
You know what they're supposed to do, but you always make sure that they've done what they're supposed to do.
I feel Abdu Badida would make a very good president. Wajakoya, also, perhaps, a very good president, apart from the snake oil thing and
the snake oil thing made sense. It's when we go to the hyena testicles, that's when he lost me.
Kidogo.
Yeah, but I asked him and he explained.
Yes.
He said he was giving he wasn't saying that it works.
Yes.
Saying, facetiously,
yeah.
What if? It was a what if situation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it sounded bizarre, but it was what if. He wasn't saying that there's some curative aspects in the testicles of a hyena. No, that's not what he was saying.
We need to host him on Radio Generation.
Well, I'll invite him.
All right. Detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigation on Saturday halted a graduation ceremony at Victory International Church in Changamwe in Mombasa County after establishing that it had been organized by an unaccredited institution. The operation was carried out by officers from the DCI headquarters, Serious Crimes Unit, working in collaboration with the Commission for University Education, following intelligence reports that an illegal graduation was underway. By the time the officers arrived at the venue, the ceremony had already begun, with graduates and organizers proceeding as if it were a legitimate academic event. What is going on here? According to investigators, the ceremony had been organized by Menorah Training Institute in partnership with Dominion Mission Theological University Global, an institution based in, oh my goodness, Ghana. However, when questioned, the organizers and officials failed to produce valid accreditation documents from Commission for University Education, raising immediate concern over the legality of the qualifications being awarded. Preliminary investigations established that Menorah Training Institute is registered with the Technical and Vocational Education and Training Authority, that is TVETA, but is only licensed to offer courses up to diploma level. Kwani walikuwa wanapeana degree. Despite this limitation, officers discovered that the graduation list included candidates set to receive qualifications far beyond the institution's authorized scope. Investigators found that 5 individuals were listed as graduating with master's degree, while a further 17 were scheduled to receive degree certificates. The DCI said the institution was neither licensed nor authorized to confer degree or postgraduate qualifications, making the planned awards unlawful. So taking this into custody include Daniela Della, identified as the president, board members John Kibet, Philomena Milano and Ann Ogola Owiti, as well as Jason Oduor and Michael Ochieng. The suspects are currently being held as detectives complete investigations ahead of their expected arraignment in court. Sasa na mimi ndio naambianga watu, if you're going to learn or rather further your education at a tertiary institution, can you just make sure that, number one, these institutions are legitimate, number two, accredited, and number three, they're authorized to teach these courses that you go and learn there. Sasa wanafunzi,
bless you.
Thank you. Spend years in these institutions learning only for them to be told, my friend, hiki tumekuwa ukisomea na umelipia school fees for the last God knows how long, is fake.
On the one hand, it's a good thing. It shows that the authorities that deals with university education are awake and alive and well. And on the other hand, it calls upon the public to be more vigilant.
Yeah.
It's the vigilance that I was speaking of with regards to everyone doing their duty. Once you have elected a leader, that's not the end of it, it's the beginning.
Yeah.
He works or she works for you. You superintend those who work for you. In our case, we allow those who work for us to be our bosses.
Yeah.
That logic escapes me completely.
Kuna vile.
It escapes me, but that's how we work. An MP is your servant, not the other way around.
Yeah.
President is your servant, not the other way around. People you elect are accountable to you, not the other way around.
Yes.
But it appears that that is something that we don't even acknowledge. We don't play our role.
Yes.
The executives around the world are always trying to compromise parliament or take shortcuts. The person and the groups of persons who need to be vigilant are those who give them the job. These are your workers. Something goes wrong, it's your fault. That's why I keep saying it is you who should ensure that your worker does what he's supposed to do. Yes.
So there's a picture.
You're even paying the person a good salary to do their work. Then they don't do it. Then you're complaining instead of ensuring that they do their work.
So this university graduation, this fake graduation now, because clearly DCA halted it. There's even like a screenshot, a picture of, it looks like these guys were even streaming this thing live.
Yes.
You know how crazy it would be in the middle of my graduation? I just see DCI walking through. I just see DCI walking all the way to the podium and asking my vice chancellor or chancellor or whoever is in charge of this university, akisema zimeni mziki, zima mziki, Because you know that's how cops come in. Cops don't come knocking. They don't.
They march in.
Exactly.
And then they take control of that whole situation.
Literally.
Zima yowe toka hapo kwenda pale. Yes.
Yeah. Wewe ndio unaitwa city muga,
Okay.
si ndio?
Wewe kaa pale.
Okay, first of all, afisa kamata huyu jamaa. And you know you're there, you're thinking, is this a skit? Is this part of the act?
No, that's what the audience are thinking. You're saying, it looks real though. It's very good, very entertaining.
Vitimbi.
Tumekuja, okay.
The gradation ya this year ni noma.
Yes, kumbe tunashuka for real.
Alafu nasikia nyinyi wote wanafunzi, mtu asisonge, hii kitu ni fake. For me, I would actually sue this institution.
No, you first of all collapse.
Yeah.
And then sue them later.
Don't forget, I've called my parents, my whole village is there.
Even the bus is there.
Kitui County yote imekuja hapo, tumenunua zile
The Christmas decoration.
Moshaino, tunaitenga Moshaino. Tuko na Moshaino.
Yes, hata mweka kwa kichwa.
Then, I even called a special cameraman. I've already booked
mahali watu wanaenda kunywa chai.
After this kuna mahali tunaenda tukule kuku, mbuzi, and God knows what else.
Yes.
I would sue this institution. First of all, for all the money I paid as school fees. Number 2, for damages. And then number 3, ile stress nimekula.
When you are told to be vigilant citizens, it means just that.
Yeah.
Please be vigilant. Please.
Wasting time bana. Wasting people's time bana. All right, leo sitawekea mziki ya traffic. I'll actually just let you know what's going on in the roads of Nairobi. Ngong Road at this particular minute. Leo kwanza tumekuja kulikuwa kunanyesha. The roads are very wet, guys. So if you are getting onto the road, be careful as you drive through. And of course, be vigilant. And ukae usimwagilie watu maji kwa barabara tafadhali. Ngong Road is looking good. However, kama kawaida, we have traffic at the junctions. So for example, Ring Road Kilimani Junction, as you're joining Ngong Road, iyo iko na traffic. Kwanza hiyo ni kubwa sana. That entire spot is just red. And then we have ile barabara inaitwa Raila Odinga Way as you're crossing over to Daystar University. A little bit of traffic around the roundabout, but as I usually tell you, it's moving. The cops are there. As I was driving this morning, I actually found them there, so they're taking care of that situation. And then we do have another situation at hapa ni wapi? Ralph Bunche Road. As you're joining Ngong Road, iko na trafiki kidogo tu, but ni kwa sababu watu wanafanya nini? Watu wanaenda makazini. And then Haile Selassie Avenue looking clean up until you get to that roundabout when you're joining Uhuru Highway. But that's the only situation there. However, now when we get into that Technical University area, as you're getting onto Moi Avenue, that roundabout yote, traffic. Moi Avenue pia iko bumper to bumper at this particular minute. Also, we do have a pallet tea room. This is now where Dubois, watu wanaitanga Dubois. Around Dubois, barabara ya Dubois kule, a lot of traffic. Hey, actually, it's like people are not moving. Kenneth Matiba Road. What usually happens at this particular place? Hapa ndio kuna zile matatu za 2NK Sacco.
Where exactly?
This is now in the CBD. Those areas of Taveta Road, Timboroa Lane, Dubois Road, that entire Kenneth Matiba Road.
Wanasema ile Dubois.
Hiyo ndio nasema watu wanitanga Dubois, but ni Dubois. And the funny thing is, if you actually tell a boda guy to take you to Dubois,
akwambia mzee tuende huko.
He will look at you like Dubai inakuanga hapi hiyo. Alafu unamwambia Dubois, tuende. So for the sake of people who know Dubois is looking really bad right now. Latema Road bumper to bumper. River Road bumper to bumper. Kuna mahali panaitwa Kumasi Road imeshikamana pia. Kirinyaga Road, hizo sehemu zote basically guys, wacha tu niwaambie kweli, hamsongi. Rescos Road, Landis Road, Ronald Ngalo, ukienda huko side za OTC kumekamatana. Let's zoom out kidogo and see the rest of the city. Now, if you're using the Thika Super Highway, Muthaiga Square, that roundabout, all of it as you're joining Pangani, bumper to bumper at this particular minute. So, anything on the road you think I should know about? I'll let a brother. Watu wa Mombasa tunaona kama watu wa Mombasa wameamka. I feel like I'm still in holiday mode. Actually, I think I have just gotten into holiday mode. Mombasa kule kwa island yenyewe, sehemu za Shimanzi mnakaa mko sawa. Makupa kule hamna shida yoyote. Tomboya Road ya kule Mombasa iko sawa. New Nyali Bridge, sehemu hiyo pia inakaa iko sawa sawa. Mahali hapako sawa ni pale sehemu ya Tahmid Coaches. Barabara hiyo iko nyekundu kumaanisha hamsongi kabisa. Abdel Nasser Road unamko sawa. Sheikh Abdullah Road iko sawa. Kule Darajani, mahali panaitwa Darajani Hotel, naona hiyo barabara pale najulikana. Hii ni Ronald Ngala, mahali nakuja kupatana na Sheikh Abdullah. Hiyo imeshikamana kwa sasa, hamsongi hata kidogo. Lakini kule kwingine tukiingia katika bara sasa, Kengeleni kule naona mko bumper to bumper wakati huu. Links Road pia iko bumper to bumper kwa wakati huu. Alafu last but not least, nikiangalia pale Mamba Village kote ko sawa. Links Road, ini Links Road gani? Because Links Road huku ni nyingi. Ile Links Road inakupeleka kule Toby's Grill Mombasa iko sawa sawa. Simba Road mko sawa, hamna complaints zote. Oleander Road, sijui nasemangu hivyo, menasema vipi, pia hiyo iko sawa. Lakini mkiona chochote barabarani mnafaa kuniambia, ili niweze kuambia nini, ili niweze kuambia wananchi. City, wacha tuanze na wewe, gazeti lako linsema vipi?
Bwana we, mambo yamechemka kule DRC.
Kumekuwa vipi?
Well, there's a place called Uvira. Uvira is near the border of Burundi. After M23,
yeah.
Remember M23 first of all captured Goma.
These are the rebels known as M23.
They are called rebels.
Yes.
They are called M23.
I'm sure they themselves call themselves freedom fighters.
Yes, March 23. Now, then they moved to Kivu. Okay? Now they're in Uvira. What that means is that any passageway that people had to move out of DRC and to do business, with the fall of Uvira, DRC is truly landlocked. And now Burundi have to start worrying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we will discuss this in greater detail.
Okay.
Wars of being, this is the East African. I'm going to start with the East African. Wars of being Museveni's rival. Ugandan presidential candidate Bobby Wine and his supporters beaten by police, blocked from rallies.
Akisiti wacha kuwacheka. Siti wacha kucheka akina Bobby Wine.
Cheki Bobby Wine. You know what I'm really laughing at?
Right.
It's not even funny.
All right.
This is the 21st century, for heaven's sake.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you deal with somebody who just happens to have an opposing voice by sending the police, whatever you call it, service of force, who are supposed to protect them, to beat them? For heaven's sake.
And this is not the first time it's happening.
Oh, no.
In this
is normal.
campaign period, yeah.
It's not a campaign period. This is a trend in Uganda.
Yeah. No, I'm saying it's a campaign period because they're having elections in January, right? Now, there's another video doing rounds, and it's from either last week or the week before that, where Bobby Wine was having another rally. And then cops just came out of nowhere. It looked like a kamukunji of sorts, the how the area looked like. And he was addressing this huge rally at some open field. And then, of course, cops showed up, started just whipping people, and then throwing tear gas. Like, the guy was just talking. He was just like, hey, people of Uganda, this is what we shall do for you. Oh, I shall ensure that my government does this and this. Then suddenly just tear gas. Cops just came with whips, started beating people, driving into the crowd. And I'm just wondering, why? This crowd was very, very organized. They were not even having any, like, these people were just quite listening to Bobby Wine. Then kidogo tu mnaanza kuwatupia tear gas. And so Bobby Wine was like, but why are you humiliating me? Why are you, what have I done? I am a presidential candidate. Why don't you respect? And I was like, you could tell and feel the frustration in his voice. And you could see he was just trying to reason with the police. Like, guys, najua mumetumwa for sure. Najua hata mumepatiwa chai ndio mkuje mfanye mambo. Lakini, do you really have to?
Yes, they do.
Do you really have to whip the foe? Like, someone, you're just seated like this, you're watching your presidential candidate, you're listening, you're trying to listen to this fellow, then you're just whipped for nothing. It's wrong. But anyway.
Let me put it to you this way. You know, it is bizarre.
It is.
we haven't quite understood how to accommodate dissenting voices, have we?
We haven't.
We haven't gotten to a point of understanding that just because somebody has a differing view, okay?
They're not a threat.
You ask me why I'm laughing. We had the Sufuria demonstrations.
Yes, we did.
What happened?
Si watu walitupua tear gas.
Na watu walipigwa.
Walitandikwa, yes.
And then some people looted. It was utter and absolute chaos. Yes. So it's not as though this is just a Ugandan problem.
It's an African thing.
It is an African thing.
Yes.
Yes. We had similar problems. You see, we look at ourselves and we think we're better off because over time we've had relative peace. Chief, there was a time this was normal. Yes. You demonstrate at your own peril. Yes. At your own peril.
Yeah.
Why do you think we had a unit within the police called Fanya Fujo One? Otherwise known as the riot police.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is Uganda are exactly where we were a while back.
Some 30 or 40 years ago.
And we haven't, we're not 30, around 20, 25. We haven't really moved away from it. No, we haven't. Because people still speak about anybody who has a differing voice as an enemy. And all they have done is differ with you.
Yeah.
We still are impatient with people who have a different view from ours, even in this country. Yes. And that's why the concept in the growth industry of the goon squads keeps improving.
You see, anyone who opposes you represents a threat. So
how is it a threat? Paul, explain this to me. How is it a threat?
So anyone who's holding power, whether it's a governor, an MP, because sometimes even MPs organize these goons.
It's not sometimes. Everybody in the political sphere, whether it's an MCA, whether, at the local level, people with djembes and pangas, and then you graduate a little bit, you leave the djembes aside, it's now just pangas.
Men in black.
Yes, men in black.
So anyone who seems to present let me call it alternative. Sometimes it's not even just a differing one, but it's just an alternative view. They represent that threat of what if people actually prefer him over me?
Paul, what is the threat?
Threat of losing the position that you hold, that power.
And so if you beat him and his supporters, then what?
Or you scuttle that.
So his supporters go away?
I mean, you do not give him a chance to talk to those supporters.
We had a situation
because as long as City doesn't speak, then people will never know that there's a different opinion other than the one that I'm giving.
Paul, when Ford was first formed, the leaders who were known to be Ford leaders who were jailed and detained, they were senior people.
Yes.
So the beating part was probably spared them. But those who are younger got thumped sufficiently.
Yeah.
Our history is not as different as people think from that of Uganda. You just need to roll it back a couple of decades.
Yeah.
And you'll realize we're doing exactly the same thing. This new constitution is what ushered in that breath of fresh air. And you can see how many people who are in political authority positions are seeking to roll back those particular gains.
Okay.
It's not an African thing, it's a human thing. It's not African. No. If it was African, then you would not see the president of America breaking his own laws and doing the crazy things that he does, circumventing it. By simply writing executive orders, and then it's taken to court.
When President Biden was in power, I didn't see him organize goons to go and disrupt Trump's, campaign rallies.
You've heard me say...
Here we see people organizing.
You've heard me
goons.
say that I am grateful to the American people for electing Trump. If we doubted that we human beings are the same, there is no doubt now.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no doubt. Okay?
Okay.
This man has gotten people who think like him to do the things he wants to do. The only benefit of having the rule of law in your country is that you have a fallback plan. People have gone to court. They've challenged it. The same thing as is happening here.
Yeah.
In Uganda, they still have a problem. The constitution, the president still has a hell of a lot of sway.
Yeah.
Here, you'll be taken to court. And if the court decides otherwise, that's it. You can try and go around it, but the court has spoken. And if you go against the ruling, you're now breaking the law.
Okay.
It is tragic, but we cannot continue without mentioning the passing away of Jirongo again, because there are things that happen over time. Raila Odinga passed away not too long ago.
Yes.
Jirongo in his time with YK92 was a force. We are seeing the definitive end of an era. A definitive end of a political era in this particular country.
Yeah.
Yes. And there are very many people in leadership right now who belong to that era.
Yes.
They may be alive, but that era is
fading.
Definitely and most assuredly fading. And we are in a new era, and something they should recognize. Those who are seeking to vie for positions in the year 2027, please be prepared. 2027 will not be like any other year you've seen in politics. No.
And it's actually on the front page of is that the Standard, sorry. It should be the Standard, yeah?
Do you have the Standard with you there?
Yes, I do. I think I do. Let me just confirm.
Read what it says.
Questions abound from the unsettling calm of the bus driver who explained the fatal crash as casually as the weather to the early claims that Cyrus Jirongo drove straight into the nose of an oncoming bus. Doubts are mounting over whether the former Lugari MP died in a simple accident. Friends say Jirongo had over time expressed fears for his safety. Now they are demanding answers about what really happened on the road in a country where high-profile deaths in road crashes often end in inconclusive investigations. They insist this case cannot be brushed aside as routine. So former Vihiga Senator, that is George Khanir, anasema hivi, I asked why he was still out having fun, yet him, Kisia and I had an important meeting the next day. He told me that he had finished and was just about to go home. There was no talk of him going to Naivasha. Yeah. Former Nairobi town clerk Philip Kisia says he was a man of the people, an international businessman. Lately, he had gotten into some very good business dealing in minerals from DRC and other countries. He was a threat to some people. So there's a conspiracy theory here that perhaps the late former MP did not just die.
That's just the beginning of the theories. We will hear very many more.
Sasa kama kwa mfano former Vihiga Senator George Khanir anasema that look, we had an important meeting the next day. Huyu jamaa alikuwa na Naivasha kufanya nini?
As I said.
And I am thinking, I am just thinking, that bus had 65 people, didn't it? So those are 65 witnesses.
No. Those are 65 would have been witnesses. 3 a.m. in the morning, people in the bus, they tend to be asleep.
But at the very least, they will say, hii basi tulipanda kutoka this particular place. Tulikuwa tunaenda Nairobi. I mean, City, the coincidence that you'd have to, like the level of planning rather, you'd have to do to make this look like an accident. Kazi mingi sana, bro.
There's something you're trying to say. Say it.
I'm just thinking this is an accident. It's just an unfortunate event. Accidents happen.
Yes, they do happen.
And people who are in important positions sometimes get into accidents.
They do.
The same way you and I would get into an accident. So it's, for me, it's not a big, I'm not looking at it as a conspiracy. It's just, and also people, you might be having an important meeting the next morning, but this guy perhaps had already planned to skip that meeting. Me, there are times I plan meetings and I know for sure I'm not going to be in that meeting. I'll call you 2 hours before nikwambie, something just came up.
Sorry. Really sorry.
Kuna kitu imetokezea, I gotta go. So, mi naona tu watu waache overthink his story. But that is what is on the Standard newspaper. You can check it out. Wacha tuone DCI.
Why would people want to find reason other than the reason that has been given that it was an accident? Why would they do that, Paul?
Because the people who apparently spoke to him last are of a different opinion. And then, of course, we have this issue of, Philip Kisia, former clerk, saying that this guy had...
Town
clerk, yes.
The last town clerk of Nairobi.
Right. Him saying that hapa kuna vitu kadhaa hazi add up. Huyu jamaa alikuanga anafanya deals DRC Congo. na hizo deals maybe somehow ziko connected na hiki kifo chake.
Bro. You know, we've had accidents of very senior people. One, Ronald Ngala, died on the way from Mombasa. In those days, there were many stories. There are those who said there are bees that entered the car. I'm telling you. He lost control, he died.
Yes.
Agweng Scott, this road is named after him because he had an accident on that particular road. Tomba was shot, so there's no theory. He was shot. Okay? He died. He was shot. We've had very many senior people who have passed away. You didn't hear of a conspiracy. When it comes to accidents do not choose whom they claim. People who we consider to be of enormous importance have passed away in accidents. Okay? Bishop Alexander Muge died in a car accident.
Yeah.
Again, this theory of, it wasn't just that. There's a guy called Habenga Okonda. His political career ended because of that, because it was alleged that he had said that man would not live long. I'm paraphrasing everything here.
Okay.
But I'm simply saying, bro, if your time has come,
imefika,
we will all die. It's not, we will all die. Now, if somebody has information, credible information that can be supported by facts that we don't know, then let them come up and say it. But the thing is, this is specific to people who come from that western region.
Yeah.
Kisis, Wajaluo, Waluya. People don't just die. I mean, there has to be a reason other than that the person died. So and so looked at him badly the other day. You don't remember that in the morning there was this black cat that crossed the road twice in front of him. So what are you talking about?
And all came and landed here.
Yes.
On Saturday morning.
Yes. You didn't see. See what? All those crows that came to his doorstep for heaven's sake, people die.
There's a snake that just...
Yes. You saw that big snake? It came, stood, looked at him and then went. Said, what are you talking about? People die.
Yeah.
Now
we all have an expiry date.
My friend, in fact, the thing that you're guaranteed in this life once you're alive
is death.
Guarantee. Guarantee. Now, in your neck of the woods, I am certain that there are people who have similar thinking and people who will explain how a river flowing in one direction suddenly diverted itself and took somebody who was on the side of the road and then went back on his route. And I'm thinking, guys, for heaven's sake. Let the police tell us what happened.
Yeah.
The experts in this field.
Right.
We will listen, we will hear. If you have alternative information, then
utatuambia
tu. But let it be credible.
Niligonga ngombe wakati fulani, nilikwambia. I don't know if I told you this. But I had an accident where I hit a cow in the middle of the road. This cow literally just ilikuwa inakula nyasi on the side of the road and it just walked into the road. I don't know, I don't understand why it decided to just cross the road at the point where I was driving. So I drove into this cow.
That cow was definitely sent.
Sasa my village people.
Where were you? You're heading home.
Yeah, I was going home.
No, that cow was sent. In fact, it wasn't actually a cow.
Sasa, according to my village people, that cow was sent. It wasn't just any cow.
Told you.
You
think it was a cow.
My villagers are convinced that cow was sent.
Yes.
Because they were like, Nairobi, ngombe, kwa barabara, aje. Mombasa road. Na niwende peke yako hizo gari zote zinapitanga hapo, wewe peke yako ndio ulipatana na hiyo ngombe.
Na hiyo ngombe ni ngombe moja.
It
was a herd of cattle.
It wasn't a herd of cattle.
No, it was moja.
One.
No.
The police found it there because eventually the police had to come and document the whole process. But they found it there.
The cow died?
No. It was just grazing. It went back to where it came from on the side of the road and just continued grazing like nothing happened. So my villagers...
Was your car damaged?
It was written off, yes. The insurance actually paid me, compensated me for that vehicle. So, and I walked out unscathed. But according to my village people, ngombe su inakiti tu mwana mundo.
Ilitumwa na mtu.
Isu inaye ngombe su. That means that was not a cow. That was something else. Before we get into the news, On the front page of the Daily Nation, revealed identities of Kenyans in Russia war. This names of at least 82 Kenyans lured into fighting for Russia in the war with Ukraine. Some dead, others injured, and most desperate for help to flee the war zone can now be revealed. Their distress is captured in official correspondence between the Kenyan embassy in Moscow and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Kenya. That story is on page 4 and 5. Quite a story, isn't it? How Jirongo's NSSF scams collapsed post bank credit. That story is on page 10. Hurdles in senior school admissions. Now, the placement of 1.1 million learners who completed junior school into senior school begins today, even as the government grapples with a severe teacher shortage that could disadvantage grade 10 students reporting to new schools next month. Stories on page 21 and 22. Then 8 relatives killed in Nyamira horror road accident again. Members of the same family traveling to their uncle's burial died in an accident along the Kericho-Nyamira road, raising concerns over rising highway deaths ahead of the festive season. This story is on page 30. Then again, very quickly on the Star newspaper, hotel bookings up as bus firms increase fare. And then Sarah's Jirongo, police expert, stable new theory. So you can check that out on page 2. And then in politics, Ayako defends Migori record, dismisses Ochilo by narrative. Ruto now takes a 2027 battle to Rigathie's Mount Kenya doorstep. That story is on page 9. Well, keep it locked, keep it tuned. We are getting into that short break. When we return, of course, the conversation takes place right here on the People's Breakfast.
This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. At least 10 people have lost their lives after being involved in a road crash in Homa Bay County late Sunday evening, December 14th. The tragedy involved 2 lorries and a private van. Police confirmed that the deaths occurred on the spot. All the deceased persons, said to be members of the same family, were coming from a wedding in Kakamega. Nyamira Governor Amos Nyaribo says the county will support victims of the road crash that occurred on Saturday night at the Buarani area near El Quereño along the Kericho-Nyamira road. A child was among at least 8 people who lost their lives in the crash. Police said the crash involved a passenger shuttle and a trailer. The shuttle was traveling from Nairobi at the time of the accident. Governor Nyaribo said his county has formed a committee to help oversee support for the families of the deceased and survivors.
Gari ilikuwa inatoka njia ya Kericho, Nissan, inaitwa kwasa kwamba. Hiyo gari ikukuwa na speed, ilikuwa tu pole pole. Sasa ndio ikukucha kukimbia, vile nilikimbia kwenda huko chini pale nilitorokea. Na hiyo gari ndio walikuja kuona
We stand with the families who have lost their loved ones and whose members are admitted at the hospital. I'll form a small committee which will be liaising with the affected families so that we see how we can work together.
The cabinet is today expected to adopt the framework for the proposed 5 trillion shillings National Infrastructure Fund. The fund is a flagship instrument that President William Ruto says will anchor Kenya's future development by mobilizing long-term investment, safeguarding privatization proceeds, and reducing reliance on debt and taxation. Speaking during a church service in Kiambu County yesterday, President Ruto said the fund marks beginning of transformation of Kenya from a third world to a first world nation.
Tunapitisha hazina maalum ya National Infrastructure Fund ambaye tutatumia kuokota pesa shilingi trilioni 5 ya kubadilisha hii nchi. And we are not joking, my friends. Hii nchi hii lazima ibadilike by all means possible. Tumechelewa kubadilisha Kenya. Tumechelewa kufukuza umaskini. Tumechelewa kufukuza njaa. Hii nchi inaweza kubadilika. Kama watu wa Singapore walibadilisha kwao, wa Korea walibadilisha kwao, wa Malaysia walibadilisha kwao, sisi tutabadilisha kwetu.
Mombasa County has launched a robust festive season road safety campaign, warning motorists that speeding will attract strict enforcement and stiff penalties. The campaign, dubbed Slow Down or Face the Consequences, comes amid a worrying rise in speed-related crashes in Mombasa and its environs. Stakeholders say the initiative is aimed at keeping roads safer during one of the highest risk travel periods of the year.
Sasa install traffic lights Buxton na Sabasaba. We expect to put most of our efforts towards the other junctions ambazo kwamba hazina mataa. Sisi tunaomba wananchi wetu pale ambapo kwamba tumeleta hii initiative ni wao kufuata sheria, si lazima tuweke askari pale.
Hiyo kamera kunaweza sauti na speed imetusaidia sana upande ya kotini. Tunapopeleka kotini kwa sababu hiyo speed tumepewa na Bluebird, iko mpaka na laptop na ni digital. So ukicapture inaenda mpaka kwa hiyo laptop.
Two gunmen shot dead at least 11 people on Sunday at a Jewish event being held at Sydney's Bondi Beach, Australian authorities said, declaring it a terrorist attack. One gunman was fatally shot by police and the second arrested. The suspect was in critical condition, authorities said. A massive emergency response was underway with injured people loaded into ambulances. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese condemned the attack in a message on social media. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
In the beginning, there was morning radio.
I've never seen anything like this.
But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey.
You got it locked.
Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation. My name is Bungala Mbuvi. Niko naye mwenzangu hapa anajulikana kama City Muga. City, habari ya asubuhi tena na tena.
Habari ya asubuhi ni mzuri kaka.
Iko salama kabisa. Wewe hawezi complain chochote. Hawezi sema akona njaa. I usually have this security guard when we come, because I usually lift him every morning when I'm coming to work. And one of the things, how he speaks, he's Maasai. Sometimes he speaks ile anataka, anasema. And I usually find it very interesting because it took me a while to actually get used to it before I got into the system, for lack of a better word. But yeah, big shout out to that gentleman. Before we introduce our guest in the studio, John Mutu amekwambia morning, my lovely TV. Qatar, Nico tuned in, everything is okay. Just say hi to CT. CT umesalimiwa.
Hello John, that's Chef John.
Then we have Sungura Sajini Yonis amesema, can you guys bring Abduba Dida? Even if it's virtual. Abduba, the last time I checked, he was arrested in the States, but I think he was let out on parole or something.
He was let out.
Yeah, but he's still in the US.
Well, there are those who say, the things people say sometimes you can't believe. But inasemekana alienda huko akapeleka hizo tabia zetu za kupiga mabibi huko. Akashtakiwa akafungwa.
Ilikuwa bibi yake ama ilikuanga mtu huyu alikuwa anajaribu kujuana?
Bibi yake.
Bibi yake akaenda akamshtaki. You get my guy.
You actually think that you have a right kupiga bibi and she has no reason to.
Listen, I've just expressed shock.
And I have also just expressed.
Mimi nilikuwa expressed to shock.
And I'm also expressing my view that you seem to think that some people have a right to go around beating others.
No, CT. No. I just spoke highly of this guy in the previous hour, saying that I believe he would have been a very good president.
A wife-beating president.
That now is where we disagree. It doesn't mean that if a CT, I believe you're a good member of parliament, or a good candidate rather, that I am okay with everything that you do and say.
If I am a wife beater, I am a horrible person. Don't
period.
Even that leadership nonsense, because
but you see,
what business do you have beating your wife?
When he was vying for president at the time, we didn't know that he was a violent person.
Well, I'm talking about the current information that we have. That
exactly.
Was the past. Chances are he was practicing his wife beating in Kenya, but nobody had taken him to court.
Okay, it's not funny considering we just celebrated. We did celebrate. We just commemorated 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. But anyway, it is now 8 minutes past 7 o'clock, and we want to talk about the pending bills and the story of the public sector supplier issue that we keep on hearing. And to help us have this conversation is the National Secretary General, the Association of Public Sector General Suppliers. Where kuna watu kama hawa. Simon Gichuki, a very good morning to you. Welcome to Radio Generation.
Thank you for having me.
There's an association of suppliers.
Yes.
Who supply the government.
Yes.
I thought this is inakuanga tu like una apply tender na ni hivyo.
You apply tender,
yes.
You get pre-qualified or you get invited.
Yes.
But then you come together,
right?
Because you have a common problem and you also have a common thing you do.
Okay.
So associations basically are formed because you have a common thing you do. So call it a common bond.
So this is a union of sorts?
No, an association, a common bond. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How many members are there? Would you be knowing?
We are at about 8,000 suppliers.
Ndio watu wanapeanga gava matenda sasa. Ni nini sasa?
That's even a drop in the ocean.
It's the other
way around.
It's the other way around. It's the government that gives you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you look at suppliers in Kenya, you should be looking at about 100,000. Yes. Because government is wide.
Yes.
Yes.
So probably give us just an overview of how supplying the government is like, because this is supplying the public sector, right? How what does it take? Because of course I know we usually see them on the paper every single day, invitation to tender or for tender, and then you're told KEMSA, for example, needs 10,000 drugs of this particular drug, and then you apply. So what is the process of applying for a tender?
For a tender, okay. First of all, every year when there's a budget, that money will either be salaries or call it recurrent expenditure, a lot, and then there will be money for development. And so when you hear the money is for development and a bit of it for recurrent, it would mean that at the end of it, development means there'll be roads, there'll be hospitals to be built. It means there'll be contractors on board. And the government is wide.
Yes.
And that's why one of the things I think we should have embraced, is it 10 years ago or 13 years ago? But now we are being forced to do it now, is automation. Because people...
This is now the EGPS I keep on hearing about.
Yes.
Okay.
The government is so wide that most of us only supply maybe 1% of the government. But you would imagine you're talking about over 40,000 institutions in government that supply.
Yes.
So when you talk about government supplies, we're saying that contractor doing roads, that consultant offering their brains to the government, all these people supplying hospitals, supplying any facility. So these are the people who wake up every day,
yes,
and have to abide by something called the Public Procurement Act to supply government. The laws are clear on how we do it.
Okay.
So you see they're tenderpreneurs, but they're also businesses that genuinely run for ages.
Yes.
And their work is public sector supplying.
Okay.
It's I keep saying in the third world, the biggest buyer is the government.
Yes, it is actually.
Which basically means if you're looking at the 3 trillion budget, I don't know for next year it will be how much. Most likely 1.5 trillion will be what corporates will be chasing.
I can call myself a government supplier because I've on several occasions emceed government events and also like other.
So welcome to the association.
Asante sana. Sasa mtaniambia membership number yangu ni gani? I've emceed also parastatal events, whether they're having a conference here, they're having a luncheon here and there. So I can be considered a government supplier.
Yes.
Okay.
Public sector.
Yes.
Means any institution.
Right.
That is owned either by government or by the mass. Yes.
Sawa sawa. Nimeelewa mpaka hapo.
Good.
Now,
and there are many. I think we only talk about, when talking about pending bills, we only talk about people only think it's ministries, parastatals, commissions,
county government,
and it ends there.
Yeah.
But have you ever wondered that we have about 22,000 schools that get supplies? We have about, give and take, 3,000 hospitals, public hospitals in our country.
Right.
That receive supplies. We have about 1,000 chief offices that also get supplied. So the government is super huge.
Yeah.
And all of them have their good and their bad.
Let's talk about the good.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Supplying government is clear and it's clean. And there are people who've done it for ages. And I always tell people that I know people who supply government and they have run businesses for years. And they will even tell you maybe they have never even bribed. People think it's a myth. But you can actually do genuine business with government.
I have never bribed every time I MC. But anyway, continue.
Yes. So the good part is the systems are there. So for the institutions that follow the systems, you will work hard to get the business, you will deliver, you will get paid. Even counties, there are some that will even do that. So our system is there, documented well. And that's why I keep telling people, if there is any issue you have, just understand the laws, you'll get your payments done. If it's procurement, understand how you did it, how you're doing it. Most people will dash to supply with a fake LPO, then dash to get paid. And when you ask someone, okay, you have the LPO, may I have the document that you took there first to get this, that will support the LPO? Haziko. So then you end up saying, this government is not paying me. But in between kuna mtu maybe will supply dawa na si za huko. Zilingia, warehouse zikatolewa zikaenda kwingine.
Okay.
Then when you go to claim, you ask, can we have the tender document? Again, it's also a problem because rarely will we agree to even learn public documentation. You ask a lot of people, they think you wake up every morning and you see a tender in the newspaper and you apply. There are processes. Even the documentation that is asked on those documents, there's a reason why it's asked.
Yeah.
But most people don't know why. So they keep saying, nimenyimwa tender, juu sikuwa na hii. Or my uncle can help me get a tender ya barabara, haujui hata NCA ni wapi. So compliance is key. Yeah. And that's why one of the things I keep pushing is that you need to understand the compliance aspects of businesses in Kenya for you not only to trade with government, but even the private sector. And now because we are not ready to do that, that's why we fail. So supplying public is okay as long as you understand the documentation and just go for what's right. Eat what you can.
There's a time a friend of mine asked me to deliver hizo makaratasi za tender, taniziita hivyo. And I'm trying even to look at something here that can show. It was a very huge document. Ilikuwa almost like, ilikuwa kama thesis ya mtu anafanya PhD 5. So it was really thick. And I was asking myself, someone sat down and wrote all this?
No.
Yeah.
It's not that they wrote all this.
Yes.
That batch represents the requirements. Sometimes you are required to list the number of people you're going to be working with, maybe experts. Those experts have to include their CV and they have to document why it is they fit into that particular role.
Right.
Then it may be required for you to document other places you've worked in.
Yes.
So you have to
You include that.
Oh yeah. The tender will indicate the things that are required of you in detail. And when you even go to what you call the opening of the tender is when you know how serious it is. Because somebody just reads the list. They know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Tick.
you're out already. There's no question there.
Yeah.
If they don't tick all the boxes, your story ends right there.
So my question, the reason I brought this up is because I was wondering, that was just one supplier who wanted to get this particular tender. And I was thinking perhaps maybe even 100 others will deliver something similar to this, because it was at a university.
The tender document is probably 40 pages. But this tender document will be filled with supporting documents,
for sure,
which will end up to 100. Because, for example, if you're doing a road, and I would be interested to know the tender you are supplying, then I would make it easier for you. If you're doing a road, then you're being asked for certifications. You're being asked for previous roads done. You're being asked for your bank details. You're being asked for audited accounts.
Tax details as well.
So you're realizing the more they're asking you a document, inenda tukija. So the importance is that, of course, we've been paper-based. We are a paper-heavy government, or a continent, let me say that. That means 90% of the tenders are paper. But maybe you'll be very shocked that a country like Zambia is electronic. And you can Google there, the PPRA Zambia. And that's where we are headed. So in future, you will upload all those documents, but on soft. The same way, our judiciary was paper-heavy. Now you file a case, electronic. So yes, we are headed there. So those are the good things that are happening behind the scenes. And
So,
I keep saying, even North Korea has its good part.
Yes.
So even Kenya, our public procurement is streamlining pole pole. We refused if miss me and you because we said it as idea Uhuru. Now why are we saying no to EGP? And interestingly, the people shouting out there no are the ones registering. So what's going to happen is that you'll have a very small clique of Kenyans who complied with EGP Kenya who are going to supply. The rest of you, because you are lied to that it is a wrong thing. And if you are someone, why is the EGP wrong? Actually, if you log into EGP, every document they are requesting is government document issued to you. You're not being asked to upload any alien document. It is a document given to you either by BRS, KRA, any regulator. So what document are you hearing uploading in a government-owned system asking you for their own documents?
Yeah. It's a good question, and we shall get to that. So, again, really quickly, if we go back to that tender I was talking about, really thick, so if 100 or even 1,000 suppliers submit such documentation, hii tender committee itapita hizo karatasi zote.
It doesn't work like
That's
that.
why it's called evaluation. That's why there's a tender evaluation team that goes through. Na mnachunjango pole pole.
Yes.
For example, they all agree, let's look at the compliance documents. They go through all of you have 1,000 pages. 50 of you don't have a valid compliance. 50 mshachujwa. That's how evaluation works.
So
it goes stage by stage.
kuna watu wanachuja. So eventually the committee will
maybe work on 20 documents.
Okay.
So ukichujwa, they don't even need to care about the rest because they had asked for you to have a valid KRA certificate, tax compliance. You don't have. So why we look at the other documents? They had asked you maybe it's a road. They needed NCA 4. You have NCA 0. So why do they need you?
Yeah.
So they unachujwa tu pole pole tu. So by the time they are looking at the final document, it was because if there is one thing that you should know, our government, or I mean our government because I'm a Kenyan.
Yes.
So I'm not a government operative.
Okay.
I love saying that. But because it's our government, you're a Kenyan.
Yeah.
It's very keen on documentation. So believe you me, every time they meet, there are minutes. That's why when you go to fight about a tender, the judge will always ask, can you bring us the tender minutes?
Okay.
That is where everything is listed. Yeah.
All right. So now we're talking about that's
The good.
That's the good. It's we have this system that is very compliant. At the end of the day, what the government is asking from you is already what they have provided. Now, where is the bad? Because we have pending bills, obviously. Why would I supply a county government, for example, that of Machakos, na nikose kulipwa? Tuliona juzi kuna msanii alisema Machakos County jamlipa.
Yes.
So where do the problems usually come in?
I'll read for you.
Yeah.
I think you've asked the right time.
Okay.
I'll read for you something that was written here by your head of public service.
All right.
I'm calling on the public to take a stand against corruption. That is what is bad. Yes, nothing else. It is him who said yesterday, please, if you see corruption, interrupt it, disrupt it, stop it. Now, this is the biggest chaos with public procurement, nothing else. Yes. We are too corrupt a country. Yes. If the head of public service can actually tweet about it, jua imefikia mkubwa. Ashajua ni kubaya. And we are too corrupt because we've gotten to a level where we are not pushing guys for something called personal responsibility. And that is what we need to push for. Because when you see the head of public service on Twitter yesterday writing this, believe you me, they had a meeting and there was chaos. And it's getting to a level where maybe even more people maybe are corrupt than those we think should be corrupt.
Yeah. There's a level of corruption, again, just like you've mentioned what Felix Koske said, where now everyone is corrupt. We can't control this thing. It would have been okay, perhaps, and this is just me being argumentative, that it's okay if I'm just corrupt, but now if all three of us are corrupt, banasi, now hii kitu tumeharibu.
When, and it's good to speak because we're in New Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Singapore or is it that prime minister who is famous is Singapore, right?
Yeah.
In 87 or 89, one of his ministers was accused of embezzling, I think, $1 million.
Okay.
His best friend. So we are talking about, for example, in Uhuru regime, who was his best friend, that one, or in this regime, the best friend. And the guy chose to commit suicide rather than go to court. Yet you're the president's best friend. That is how it should work, where you fear corruption too much that even when number one is your friend, you're still afraid of even going and telling him, neza rudisha hii pesa, unisamehe. That guy killed himself. And the prime minister said, I wouldn't have saved him. Now, there's nothing like an acceptable level of corruption. Because corruption, for example, we are here because of pending bills.
Yes.
You hear the cases of pending bills deep down there, and you actually realize it's someone refusing to do their work. They would have a budget to buy a new car rather than pay a supplier. That's corruption, abuse of office.
Why? Yet we have laws. You started this conversation.
We have laws that allow you to procure.
Yes.
And there's a law Moses Kuria wanted to bring to parliament, but I think it never saw the light of the day, where there should be an obligation that if you're not paid your money within a certain duration, then someone is either personally held liable or the government pays you with a lot of interest. Now that doesn't happen. The government will still hold your money for 10 years and still pay you exactly what they owed you 10 years ago.
What do you mean 10 years?
Because your invoice says 10,000. Your invoice does not say 10,000 plus
interest.
You see, again, when I hear of these horror stories whereby someone supplies a government, a county government, let's even say, in this time that Governor Wavinya is the governor. So if next term she's not governor, whoever takes place, yeye anashughulikia wenye kwanza wenye anadili na wao saa hizo. And yet there's someone who has probably even supplied during the time of Governor Mutua, and that person to date has not been paid. How is that?
And that is why 2027
yes,
contractors will influence elections, because we're no longer going to have we're no longer going to have crooks
yes,
in the name of governors. You cannot disown a pending bill by your previous person. And we actually need to ask ourselves, who are we electing as governors? A country or a county is a going concern. That means you will inherit the assets and the liabilities. Part of the liabilities is spending bills. So when you come and say the former governor did 1, 2, 3, you're basically becoming a crook. So we cannot be at every 5 years, we are in a new country, new independence, we start at zero. It doesn't work like that. And now contractors will push for governors who understand what business is and how to do business. Otherwise, that business where they come in and decide everything started as wrong. Even now, you're reading counties like Nairobi saying the pending bills have come down from 120 billion to 89 billion through an audit. So you don't tell me 40 billion was fake documents?
Probably.
Why aren't they in court for something called false pretense?
Maybe it was a typing error.
No.
It simply means that we play around with people's monies and assume they are paper. Yet, a pending bill has a ripple effect. Now, let me take you through a bit of finance.
Okay.
You owe Company Y as a whatever public sector. Company Y has employees. So the number one injury goes to the employee. Number 2 is the statutories immediately. Number 3 person that you affect in that chain is a dependent. So one pending bill already has a ripple effect in your employees. Now in the corporate world then, the next person who gets affected are the suppliers to this institution. Because as you run a business, you have people who supply you and you have people who benefit from that ecosystem. The other person who loses heavily is the government, because taxes are held. So as taxes are held, you fired the employee, so you cannot pay. This company owes government money, it cannot also pay. So the pending bill itself is a crisis that is even making hard for anyone running the government to run a government. Because there's no money. If you released today, I think now we are at about $500 billion.
Yep.
If you released half of that money, it will come back to the economy. I don't think there's any person who has pending bills who want to be paid to fly out of the country. They want to be paid to continue working. So if they are not paid, it means all these institutions are struggling. Yes. So it's not about one business getting paid.
Yeah.
When you pay a business, the ripple effect is huge. Look at even now you're in the media. Look at the media houses. How much money are you owed by government?
Lots.
That means you can't trade. That means you fire people. You can't do good business. The ecosystem is too huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have stations that have shut down completely. Like, let go of every single person, including the CEO himself.
Yes.
And they've had to shut down. Now, getting back to the issue of the pending bills, do you have any success stories of people who've gone to court and they have been not only awarded compensation, but they have actually received that compensation? Because it's one thing when the judge says, pay Simon his 10 million shillings, and then another issue of you actually receiving that 10 million.
They are Kenyans. If you look at it, who've actually sued the government and even private and even gotten judgments to that effect. But there are many who are afraid to go to court because of the ripple effect. There are even many suffering, but they will never go to media because they will be bashed or they will be attacked or their companies will have issues just because they are going to say, can I get my money paid? I have seen cases of young guys on social media. The governor of Laikipia the other day was saying, what wanamfuata kwa barrios, you're pending bills. But you're the governor, pay up. Stop telling us people are following in barrios. It's not like we love going to see people crying. No. You pay people in corporate offices, they won't follow in barrios. Yeah, that's the crisis.
I attend someone else's burial because I want to see the governor.
Yes.
So again,
But
question.
you can't access the governor in his office.
Yeah.
So where are you going to access him?
Of course, publicly.
Yes.
Hata ikibidi supermarket utaenda mfuate huko.
Yes.
Na watu waingiangi.
Even me, there's a governor who is my friend, but he never picks my phone call. But I knew where he goes to have a drink. So I just made sure I was there. So he came, said, hi, mambo. Then I was like, unakataa kunichukulia simu kwa nini? Oh, yeah, I told him, Mimi, there's nothing I want, but tell your chief officer to pay me. And he looked at it. Now, you know, the beauty of you understanding yourself is that you can't chase me out of a situation. And he was there. Then I think there was a guard there. I told the guard, me, I've known this guy since we were in our 20s. So me, there's nothing I want from him. Just tell your guy to pick. Then he picks a phone call. Because the guy telling me, and I tell the guy, now, it's not your money I want. Can you just pay up what you ask? And I hung up and I gave him back his phone. But yes, there are success stories. I know a couple of companies that have gone to court. And unless someone publicly puts it on the internet, I may not mention, because again, that's against those laws that we have in our country. But the most public one was Donald Kipkorir. He sued Kanjo and got his money out. I have done letters to a county and they told me, send a courtini, we will pay you. And they sent, it took like another 2 months, but they settled.
Okay.
I think what we would do and what we are trying to do as an association is to actually sensitize members that do less of noise on the internet and follow the legal channels to get your money out.
Yeah.
Because the more you're on the internet, we will psych you up. And if there's one problem that is with your documentation, you won't get paid.
Let me ask you, like in the case of the chief officer who was not taking your calls, or rather who was not paying, what was the exact issue? Why were they not paying? Is it because you had not finished supplying?
No, because he can. As simple as that.
Aku frustrate too.
Yes.
For absolutely nothing.
No.
But those are the people you have in leadership.
It's not absolutely for nothing.
Oh, because they want something.
He can't say it, but I will. Very many people who are in positions of authority, specifically in the county governments, are extortionists.
Okay.
It's really not complicated. They want you to pay them to pay you. Now it doesn't make sense.
If I do medical supplies.
Yes.
For example, there's a case I'm handling for a friend of mine. And you did an audit. And you owe us money.
Right.
Unless you're insolvent, why shouldn't you pay me? So you want me to go to court, use legal fees, and maybe my profit is what? Out of $1 million, maybe 100,000. The lawyer will take 50. This money has stayed with you for a year. So technically,
what money are you making? And KRA will also want their bit.
Of course.
So going forward, if you ask me, we will, and I think it's a case of. Is it Senator Orengo? The guy...
He's now governor.
Oh, Governor Orengo.
Right.
But he was more efficient as a senator.
Okay.
There is a court ruling that governors are personally liable for procurement. Now, this is what I keep saying. You stay in power, sumbua watu. When you leave power and there are cases following you left, right, and center, that's when you actually realize it's transient. Because now, personally, I'm pushing our members, sue the governor directly for your money. He's a chief executive.
So sue Simon.
Personally.
Yeah.
And don't sue the office of the governor. Sue James Orengo.
Yes.
For your pending bills in Siaya. Sue Sakaja for your pending bills in Nairobi. Let him be the one to appear in court. Because even after he leaves office,
he will need to answer.
Good.
Now, let's go back to that issue of extortion. So you here is a person, procurement officer, chief officer, whatever it is that they do, and they're the ones supposed to pay you. Why don't they just, and I'm not saying that bribe them, I'm not saying, it's okay to do this, but mbona anakupeleka around sana, si akwambia tu buda, hii 1 million yako nipatie 100k ni malize.
They don't ask for those small amounts, that's the problem.
No, I'm putting it out there because I don't know how much.
Your small amounts are not important to them because you'll give them 2,000, 5,000. So now they are working with the big amounts because the big bribes are bigger. So nyinyi mko hapa chini mnaweza ngojea. Furthermore 100k itafanya nini? That is the mentality we have. And what we forget, we have a kadogo economy.
Yes.
Not everyone who supplies counties.
Exactly the backbone of this particular economy.
And not everyone who supplies government is doing millions. Some of them are doing figures of 40,000, 100,000. And majority of pending bills, if you look at the auditor's report for last year, because again, everything I'm quoting is either an auditor's report, control of budget and the likes, are bills of like 60k unpaid. 60k is something a chief officer can pay from his petty cash.
Yeah.
So it's not even billions that are a problem. It's amounts between 50,000 and 2 million that are with the government. Yes. You'll be very shocked that 1 billion released would even settle like 10,000 businesses.
Wow.
Yes.
It's interesting that we're having this conversation, and I'm just thinking, like the few times I have been in the situation whereby I supply my services, I'm actually paid quite efficiently.
Depends which. You see, let's break down your government. There is the executive, which is basically the ministries and the parastatals.
I have done for ministries that time.
Now, those ones, they mostly have float, call them money.
Yes.
And somehow, if there's something that works, is that ministries have two systems that even if one minister or one PS leaves, the system works.
Yeah.
It is only that once in a while there might be a crook here and there, but the systems in let's say 80% of executive will work. Parastatals are divided into a couple of I'll call them sections. They are what we call directly fed monies by treasury. That means as long as there's no exchequer, you'll wait for the exchequer. That also includes independent commissions. As long as money is with the exchequer, maybe a treasury release, then you have a problem. But we have service corporations who generate their own revenue.
Yes.
That means they are liquid. The likes of Kenya Power, the likes of Kengen, the likes of KPC.
I've actually supplied all those.
Good. So those ones will pay you because they have their own revenue.
Akunanga drama, stress.
Now we have counties.
Yeah.
Who depend on quarterly, it's called what? Disbursements. And then when it's disbursed, then whatever is in the system, control of budget approves. Then that becomes a long queue. So maybe you're in queue number 50, if you can number 30. Then they have to request again.
Yes.
From zero. If the new money is coming in. Then we have the small departments, call them the hospitals, uko mashinani, the schools, who now have a capitation coming. Maybe regular, maybe irregular. So those are the dynamics that you deal with. And that's why when you're supplying government, you must understand. I will look at today's newspaper and see 10 institutions and I may only tender in one. Because these three, since I'm understanding the government, it's a delay. Yes.
Hey. Again, I will go back to what you said, that there's a time where after you will complain, you were paid 2 months later. Why? How long had you stayed before you were paid, for instance?
That was a 2019 bill. You see.
And then you were paid how many months later?
Last year, September, October, yeah.
So from 2019 to 2020.
You see, when you're in business, you're a going concern.
Yeah.
It means you won't quit business because you are not paid today. When you are tenderpreneur, you can quit and go do farming.
Yes.
But here you have a structured business. That means, like for example, in our books, personally, I have a pending bill for a county in South Nyanza for 2015.
2015.
Yes. Now it's written off, but I'm hoping one day it will be realized.
Ngoja kidogo. Someone owes you, and you're breathing very fine right now. You're okay.
No, he's breathing. Who said he's breathing fine? You're just breathing.
I am alive. Let's use that word.
You know, there's someone in this Nairobi of ours who owes me, I think it was 20,000. I keep on forgetting. There's someone who owes me 20,000. Hajanilipa, but
just make sure, but don't do a 3 a.m. accident. But go on.
No. Are you one of those conspiracy theories? Anyway, so this guy owes me 20 G's. I think that money is because it was pre-COVID, probably around 2018, 2019 there. No, na nasikianga vibaya nikimwona social media by the way kitu nisumbua na kulangwa na kichwa, but that's just 20
Write it
G's.
off.
Of course, I already did
When
that.
you're in business,
Yes.
you'll have debts going back to many years.
So you are telling me a county here owes you money from 2015, and I'm sure it's not 20,000.
I have. I don't know if I can remember what my friend sent me.
Yeah.
This is Wahome. I was solo. I don't know, let me look for it. My friend here has a bill of 2011, and it, even if you look at the, I hope I didn't delete it. Yes. This was a 2012 BQ document. So it's a member who sent me, and it is when we used to have the office of the president, district commissioner, Kajiado Central.
Yes.
The letter is dated 30th December. 30th 11 is what, November 2011. This is a tender he got in 2011. The demand letter he's doing is dated 2012. That was the first one.
Yes.
And now in 2022 is when it was listed for payment. It was
11 years later.
Yes. So in 2020, and then he even has a payment voucher dated 2011. 11 years later, it's not paid. And yet, these are letters I'm scrolling that were confirming alipwe. All those years later, bado anafuatilia kwa corridors. Of course, now it's not Kajiado Central. It is Kajiado Assistant Commissioner's Office. So yeah, people are struggling out here. That is 2011 case.
And the court has already said huyu jamaa alipwe.
Alienda kotini akaambiwa alipwe. Sasa unajua kiambiwa ulipwe ni serikali kuwa na pesa ya kulipa.
Now, and you see, that's the question I was asking. So now in such a case where the court, mheshimiwa judge, magistrate or judge alisema Simon alipwe pesa yake 2 million na hujalipwa.
The judgment will be given.
Yes.
My understanding of law may be vague.
Yes.
What usually happens when you have a good lawyer is you get an order to attach the accounts. That means the court will give you a document, freeze the account until you're paid, or hold a certain amount, so they are forced to write a check of that exact amount to give you. I don't know if it's called garnishi order, kitu kama hiyo.
Okay.
Yeah.
The garnishi order actually is useful because if there is money in that account, which is the equivalent to what they owe you, it is as good as yours.
Yes.
It forces those fellows to ensure that yes, it does.
Actually, tell your followers here, if you owed money by government, go and ask for a garnishi order against your money. It's your right to get paid. Actually, there are two rights you have as a Kenyan.
Yeah.
Right number one is the right to supply the government of Kenya because it is right for you as a business. Right number two is the right to get paid. It's your money. You're not going to beg. Those two rights, they're enforceable in law. That's why when you deny Kenyans the chance to supply any tender, they go to court and revoke the tender. Why? Because you've done a tender and said this is only an international tender. Why are you calling it international? It's in my land.
What makes you think we can't supply?
Good. So it's a right you have to supply government. It's a right you also have to get paid.
Yes.
Yes.
So currently, do you know how many of your members are in court because of unpaid bills?
Many guys are. Slowly by slowly, small. There's a good court called small claims.
Yes.
This small claims court is really helping suppliers. You know, it's good to mention where good things are because you get a judgment and you can also represent yourself. Because again, legal fees are huge.
Oh, wait.
But I keep saying...
Wait. You can represent yourself? I don't need a lawyer.
Okay, he's not a lawyer, is he?
Oh, jamaa 20k simwachi by
But normally what happens... Let me tell you why you need a lawyer.
Yeah.
One, generally we fear fights with lawyers. So you need a legal representation. So that when that guy brings manenos of Sharia that you don't understand, you have a legal figurehead who is telling you, we are not going that way. Because what will happen, you go to court, then the court, the county government comes and says, we want to settle out of court. A good lawyer will say, no. Si tulifika hapa julikata, tuende hadi mwisho. Because that settling out of court is also a mess for most suppliers. You settle out of court with the county, then they get on their business. What will you do?
Yeah, that's another problem.
You already decided to leave the courts. And then they force you to sign an acceptance that they will pay you. But they've not said when. You actually went to court because they had said they'll pay you, but they never paid. Now they're again telling you, we will pay you. And that's why we have, let's say we have crooks in counties who work very hard to do that. So if you ask me, if we get to that point where we get rid of people who don't understand how businesses work and they think them holding money is giving them more power, indirectly it's killing businesses. Because right now every young man, they see a tender in the newspaper, it's for counties, they ignore it. Your page haiko next. Yet you counties are maybe at 450 billion.
Yes.
Let's assume they will use 30% for development. So we're talking about 150 billion worth of tenders. So are we leaving them for small people, for a small clique of guys because they can push for tenders? No, that should be wrong. Because the reason why we devolved is so that you in Mandera town can supply stationery to Mandera County.
Yes.
You in Isibania, you can supply to Migori County. But now if everyone is afraid, it means that the only people who do it are in Nairobi. So they'll still do it from Nairobi at higher prices than that guy down there who would have done it at a lower price. Yeah.
And you see, that's why for me, like I started by saying that I am afraid of tendering because number one, of this whole issue of pending bills, and then number two, your process unaonanga ikiwa tedious sana. Hizo makaratasi huwa zinaitishwa, then you have got to write why you need this tender. I'm just like, hey,
but because not everyone can be employed, and you mean most of you actually, I don't know which country a parent once said they're very proud when their sons graduate and they go into business. We should be very angry that we are pushing people not to supply government because it's inefficient. And that's why 2027, when someone is coming to ask you for the vote of a governor, ask them, are you going to kill more businesses or are you going to resurrect the ones that are already dead? Yes.
Good question for them, of course. Now, in going forward, for someone who's probably listening to you and they didn't even know that, yeah, by the way, there is this, this organization, this association. Number one, is there any membership, for instance, membership fee? Or do I just walk in and say, hey, Niajo, say, I want to be a member? How does it work?
From June, we had waived the membership because people had a lot of problems. So we waived the membership fee. So those who joined between June and this year, December, are not paying any fee. Yes. And basically because the main aspect is not to generate revenue.
Yes.
Is to come together to have a voice so that you can be able to ask the right questions. Yes.
Let's talk about this e-procurement process, the EGPS. It's Electronic Government Procurement Services, right?
Electronic Procurement Government, yes.
Yes, yeah. So,
Electronic Government Procurement.
Yes. There are a lot of questions around that particular issue, and I think some politicians were saying that it hadn't gone through the right process in terms of even things to do with, what is it called? Public participation. What from your perspective, from where you sit, where do you see an issue to begin with?
Now, from where I sit now, the law talks about public documentation, public procurement documentation. It doesn't say in what state. Could be physical, could be electronic. If you supply tender, if you're applying for a tender with today now, even before you tell you EGP, are you aware before the system, before what is in parliament, we had about 4 parastatals that are already using electronic means to pre-qualify you, and you supply. KRA, KPA, Kengen, Kenya Power, they have electronic procurement. Did they go to parliament?
No.
Now, the EGP is not changing the process for procurement. It is changing the form of documentation from physical to electronic.
And now it's making it centralized.
It's centralized because you will go in there and find a tender in Mandera for Mandera Central Constituency Development Fund. You apply, they evaluate, they award, you go do the work. Traditionally, you'd have had to fly to Mandera to the CDF offices for tender opening to follow the process. And when they give you a tender, you fly back to go and get your tender document, come back to Nairobi, do mobilization, then fly back to do the work. Technology came to change us. And if we don't adopt technology, Tanzania is doing it. So we keep saying Tanzania is a shady country. They have adopted e-procurement. Zambia has adopted e-procurement comfortably. So why are we saying technology is bad? Only because it is affecting the corrupt people, not bypass processes. Because again, technology will never allow you to bypass processes. Because all of us are uploading documents, electronic documents. And that's the only difference. So the EGP Kenya system now, and by the way, right now, all the the firms that we deal with, first thing they ask you when you're sending a document is please quote your EGP Kenya number. As simple. They're not even telling you to register.
Yeah.
Please, when you're doing sending the documents, please quote for us the number. It's as simple as that.
So this is when you're tendering for international?
No, local.
Or local?
Yes, because that is what the system they'll work with.
Yeah.
So they're just asking you to register. And as I said earlier, there's no document they're asking you that is alien. It's all their documents. Yes. Just like I keep saying, we do not have a law that allowed you to apply for jobs through Public Service Commission website. So why are you not complaining about that? Why didn't Parliament say apana pelekeni makaratasi physical kwa PSC? But when it doesn't favor them, because look at it like this. CDF is how much?
For each county?
It's about,
for
total.
each constituency? Oh, I don't know. How much is it?
Take 100 million, multiply by 300 constituencies, you're talking about 4 billion. Now, that money, 40 billion, that money is also a very corrupt scheme. Do they really want to be in a system? Ask yourself why they're the only ones who made noise. Why didn't you hear the CEOs of universities saying we don't? No, because they all understand that you need to clean up a system. And someone will do it at some point. Because we all either will supply public or private. And because in third world, public sector is where the money is, because it's the biggest buyer. Then you want to clean the system.
Simon, by and large, the world over, the government is probably the biggest business entity you can conduct business with.
By the yes, it is. Actually, all billionaires, somehow.
They supply government.
Yes.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all these guys supply government.
Just think of any.
And that's why you'll find even billionaires, they align themselves with the government of the day. Even in Kenya, the billionaires are not fighting the president. They're just asking the president, clean up the system for us to make more money.
That's it.
They're not going to rally saying, let's sponsor an opposition. That's not what happens when you're a billionaire. You work with the government of the day. Now, I keep telling suppliers, we work with the government of the day by supporting initiatives that we clean up a public procurement system so that all of you are able to work and compete in a safe environment.
Unless, of course, you're Jimmy Wanjigi, but yes.
Why Jimmy Wanjigi? I want to understand.
He's one of the few wealthy people who are, but it's because he's a politician now.
Actually, he's a public if you look at it, he's a public sector supplier who understands the systems and who knows what you guys want in 5 years. So he goes, for example, let's say you guys want to do an airstrip in Mandera. He goes to Russia, knows a guy who's built airstrips, forms a consortium. Way before you guys think of the tender. By the time the tender is out, the guy has all the documentation. That's a clever businessman. He's not a crook. Again, people hate people who think ahead. Because look at right now. Let's say, for example, we build this Maunarok Road. It's called what?
Mau
Summit Road.
It is called Rironi Mau
Summit
Highway. Yes.
The public supplier there is a road contractor. In between there, so many other public contractors will be contracted by the Kenha or the county government. When you're wameona mbele, already washaanza kufikiria, how do I position myself? That's what business is all about.
They positioned themselves a very long time ago. By the time you hear that something has gone to tender, that thing has been worked on for years. And people who know that are prepared.
Yes.
So when they say tender, hapo.
And you're number one.
There are people who consume the budgets.
Yes.
Like it's the Bible.
But the time inatokezea anaisoma anaichambua.
Ikitokea anaenda retreat 1 month. Anajua this ministry, this is what they're doing. So by the time he's coming back, he knows very well I'm targeting 2 ministries. Before nimfikiria ati hawana budgets, yashaenda. Most of these consultancies are hidden in, there'll be a budget for this. So he knows before the road, there'll be a consultant to do 1, 2, 3. He starts tendering. and pushing network. That's not corruption. That's being
Smart.
informed.
The really smart ones will even organize funding for that very project.
Good.
Yes, so that when the government says it has no money, it says it is okay.
Yeah.
I've got some people here who can fund it. This is how they
On
want to fund
condition
that
you get
we
the
do
job.
A,
That's
B,
not
C, D.
corruption.
No.
Yes. You needed to build a road that is $1 billion. I've gotten you the $1 billion.
Yeah.
And I've just told the guy funding out of the $1 billion, make sure I'm the one doing the work.
Yeah.
Shida iko wapi?
Na sasa, where does that leave the rest of us who do not know these networks?
No, the rest of us who don't think. Because there's a thought process. Most people do not want to bother with the details. First of all, just understanding how government works. Most people talk about business. They want government to work the way they want government to work. Government doesn't work that way.
Let me give you a simple scenario. EGP will work whether you want it or not.
Okay.
But there is that institution that doesn't have laptops and computers. So if a guy goes and realizes they don't have, goes and gets donor funding, gets paid to deliver the laptops, has he stolen from anyone?
No.
You see,
kuna jamaa alisema Kenya ni akili mtu wangu. Yes.
Look, let me give you an example of that same akili that you're speaking of. Huh? We've discussed it the whole of last week. You know, in my mind, when I speak, it should follow me.
These guys watch the president too many times. Unajua president akienda mic na force yangu.
But anyway, you were saying something.
We discussed this last week.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Remember we're talking about mambo ya sijui pesa ambayo serikali inataka kuboro kufanya nini. Roni road. And we're saying, but folks, this is what I told my colleague here.
Yeah.
This infrastructure fund that the government is talking about, the president talking about, we don't have to create it, we already have it.
Yes.
This fuel levy is a fund for infrastructure, in case most people don't know. Because road is infrastructure. Now, if you want to build more roads or you want to put up structures, that same model, forget these issues of toll stations. Too much work, too much money being spent for nothing. At the end of it, what you want is to collect money.
Yes.
This is a very efficient method of collecting money. Countries have built infrastructure beyond roads using toll stations. Us, as Kenyans, we came up with something even cleverer. The one thing that you can't escape from, fuel. So if you tell the public, because our problem is public participation, and tell them, guys, beyond Talanta, because how is Talanta being built? Securitization. Again, what? You look at that fuel levy and you attach a certain portion of it, which anybody who wants to lend you can see hii pesa inakujaga kiasi hii kila siku.
Yes.
And by the way, it is literally kila siku. So they know.
Yes.
Now, if you want to build that road, tell the public, explain, and just do the same thing. Don't build any toll station. It is a complete waste of money. Just add to that fuel levy and tell people, guys, this is what we're going to use the money for. This is the amount, and this is given our figures of vehicles who fuel and so. This is the amount of money we have. So people know and they say. Now, why am I giving this example? Somebody who came up with that fuel levy thought we already had toll stations.
Yes.
We did away with them. And it has proven to be one of the most efficient ways of collecting money. The only problem is we don't know how much we collect because nobody's going to tell you.
And actually, my question has always been,
yes,
the toll stations idea now, there as a Kenyan now, is good and is bad at the same time. But I keep asking myself, how many of us actually attend public participation? Because the crisis we have in our country is that all of us want to be active citizens on social media.
Kabza.
But when you're called and told, let's discuss the budget, you don't show up. Actually, 90% of Kenyans don't even know where the social hall is. So when a meeting is called, mnasikia mtu amesema you stand itakuwa na vijana. But now you're letting the people who has the smallest impact in decision making, because they may not understand, to go and make decisions on your behalf, who will be impacted the most. So public participation should, in my view, be a call for every Kenyan that when it is happening, in my view, it is a more relevant public holiday than Mashujaa Jamhuri.
You know,
So nationally, when we have public participation, the president, or not the president, the Murkomen, should make sure it is gazetted as a public holiday for you to attend public participation. 290 constituencies, 1,400 words.
Siku hiyo watu wanaongea.
Siku hiyo watu wote hakuna kwenda job. Go and do public participation. It is more relevant than Moi Day, sijui Mashujaa Day, sijui Madaraka Day. That's the honest truth, because right now we have I think every week there's a newspaper kituka public participation. We do it on a weekday when all of you are working. I've never seen anywhere the Murkomen have said there's public participation on this thing that is very important. Can we have it as a public holiday? He has the power to do so. It's a power invested in him. If they can give us a public holiday to go bury someone, they should give us a public holiday to go discuss our matters when we are alive.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But now when they make it on a Tuesday, how many employers?
Oh, you think they don't know it's a Tuesday? They know it's a Tuesday.
Jaribu kuambia mdosi ati nienda kuongea juu ya hii sheria inasema hivi na hivi.
But imagine someone will one day go to court and we will have a structured model. Lastly, let me now tell you.
Yeah.
Even when you're petitioning the government, we have no electronic model of petitioning the government. Because if there was, we would be using the UK model, where we use e-citizen to send your petition,
Yes.
where it can be accounted for, and you have a direct response from a certain office.
Yeah.
So right now, me and you, we have an issue with the county because of a pending bill. We say sign this petition to challenge the governor in court. It's not anchored in any law. That's our problem, where this technology should help us. All of us are social media.
Yeah.
I pray the government will one day think, how do we accommodate public participation on the social portals, and it can be verified
Yes.
to a level where you can question.
The day perhaps we shall also be able to register as voters online. Perhaps that's also the day that we shall have that way of petitioning the government or the offices of the government through that online platform.
And we will. It's not hard. I don't think we are far off. I simply don't think we really want to do it. But because if we really wanted to do it, we would do it.
Yeah. Yes. But for the folks who are serious about it, if they want, the Okiom Tatas of this earth, of this Kenya, perhaps one day, one time, they'll ensure that we have it. Thank you so much, Simon Gichuki,
Karibu
for
sana.
coming through. How do the small suppliers get in touch with you?
Okay. You can get us on Suppliers Kenya. That's on social media. You can hit us up on info@supplierskenya.co.ke, or you can follow me, Don Victor Simon. Yes.
Sawa.
Thank you.
All right, here's where we take a short break. Of course, check out what's happening. Nani anajaribu kuongea kama mimi? Check out what's happening. Oh my goodness, I am getting feedback from somewhere. But anyway. Oh my goodness, I am wacha tuingie kwa news kwanza, alafu tukirudi tutaweza kuongea juu ya mambo hayo na mengine mengi. So in case you also want to get in touch with with us, you can find us on our social media platforms. That is at Radio Gen KE, where we are live on all our platforms. Like I told you, we are literally on every single one of those ones that you like. Right now, though, here is the news with Winnie Maganga.
This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. The burial of the late former Lugari Member of Parliament, Cyrus Jirongo, has been set for Tuesday, December 30th, 2025, according to his family. The ceremony will take place at his Lumakanda home in Lugari constituency, Kakamega County. The burial arrangements were confirmed on Sunday by a funeral committee chaired by former Westlands MP Fred Gumo, which addressed the media after a consultative meeting.
We have agreed on the burial date, which has been set tentatively for 30th of December 2025. Well, Mheshimiwa had many homes, so questions were being asked as to which home he will be buried. I think the family has agreed that Mheshimiwa will be buried in his Lumaganda home next to his father and mother's grave.
2 youths have been killed and at least 5 others are receiving treatment in various health facilities following renewed clashes along the Angata-Barikoi Lolngorian border. The violence stems from ongoing tensions between the Kipsigis and the Maasai community over cattle rustling in the area. The clashes, which began in late November, have so far claimed 5 lives. Transmara South Sub-County Commander Eric Telewa identified Sachangwan, Rotik and Erongor as the main flashpoints of the unrest. My agenda for Kenya is not driven by political expediency, President William Ruto has said. Speaking during a Sunday service in Kiambu County, the president said his focus is on delivering lasting change for the country rather than seeking popularity or early support for future elections. He emphasized that he has moved beyond campaigning and is committed to implementing his development agenda and key reforms, describing them as his core mission.
Na hiyo kazi yote mimi ninafanya sio kwa sababu mimi natafuta kura. Mimi nimepita kiwango ya kutafuta kura. Mimi nataka kubadilisha Kenya. That is my mission. Mimi mnanielewa? Yes. Kwa sababu kama ni kura, si mnilipigia 2022 ama namna gani? Si hiyo kura mlinipigia inatosha niwafanyie hii kazi? Yes, so watu wasisumbuke na mambo ya kura. Kura itakuja baadaye na Mungu ndiye ataamua. Na hao wananchi ndio kusema. Na kila mtu apimwe kwa hii kura na kazi yake. Mtu ya kung'edhia na makelele na matuzi na manini na nini apelekwe nyumbani mbio mbio.
Police and the Independent Policing Oversight Authority are investigating the death of a suspect at Kawangware Police Station in Nairobi. The 35-year-old, identified as Jack Leon Matoke, had been taken to the station by members of public over allegations of motorcycle theft. Police say he was booked on Thursday evening as officers awaited his transfer to Mudhangari Police Station. He was later found hanging in the cell and was rushed to hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says he will push for tougher gun laws after 15 people, including a 10-year-old girl, were killed in a shooting at Bondi Beach on Sunday. Mourners have gathered at beachside memorials to lay flowers and pay their respect to those who perished in the attack that targeted a Anuka event. Police said the 2 gunmen were 50-year-old father who died on the scene and his 24-year-old son who remains in hospital in critical condition. Albanese also condemned the incident.
An attack on Jewish Australians is an attack on every Australian. And every Australian tonight will be, like me, devastated on this attack on our way of life. There is no place for this hate, violence and terrorism in our nation. Let me be clear, we will eradicate it.
And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
Sports on Radio Generation.
Good morning, I'm Samuel Otieno. Dominic Calvert-Lewin continued his fine-scoring run to rescue a point for Leeds against Brentford at the GTEC Community Stadium. The striker netted for the 4th straight game, the first time since 5 for Everton in 2020, with a close-range header in the 82nd minute. It cancelled out Jordan Henderson's first Brentford goal with a deflected effort in the 70th minute. The England midfielder's first Premier League goal since December 2021 for Liverpool in a Merseyside derby. The Tottenham Hotspur manager Thomas Frank expressed frustration after his side's hopes of a 3rd straight win were ended by a 3-0 Premier League defeat to Nottingham Forest. Callum Hudson-Odoi scored twice, capitalizing on errors by Archie Gray and goalkeeper Guillermo Vicario, before Ibrahim Sangare added a 3rd at the City ground. Tottenham had gone into the match on the back of 2 home wins, and Frank described the loss as hugely disappointing for the team. And that's your sport update on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Samuel Otieno.
Sports on Radio Generation. In the beginning, there was morning radio.
I've never seen anything like this.
But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey.
You got it locked.
Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbors.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. This is Radio Generation. My name is Mangala Movie. 8 minutes past 8 o'clock. City, guess what? It is Ignatius Openje's birthday today.
He told me.
He told you about it?
He told me in the morning.
Aaron Leono, kuna kitu ulimpatia?
No.
Ukupatia kitu?
I just wished him a happy birthday.
So you gave him a birthday wish. Or rather, you wished him a happy birthday.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And why I didn't give him a present, he didn't tell me how old he was.
Amekataa kukwambia?
No, sikumuuliza.
In case you're wondering, this Openje, who is he? He's not a politician, at least not out there anyway. He's a politician here in our office, but he's the one who is making sure that our digital spaces are looking absolutely phantamagorgeous. He's the one who takes photos of our guests, he posts them, and he's in charge of that digital space actually. So a happy birthday to you, Mr. Ignatius Openje. Sasa swali tu ni moja, unajua Openje ni Mluya. Tutakula keki ina gani ama itakuwa ni keki ya ugali?
Why are you asking me?
Because wewe ndio unajuanga watu wa huko venye wanapendanga kukula. So
they don't like eating cake, chief.
They don't like cake, these guys. Yeah?
Not particularly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kuna siku actually mdosi hapa kwa ofisi alitusurprise na lunch ya chips. Openje alisema hiyo hawezi shiba. Aliuliza kama yake inaweza kuja ugali. But because ilikuwa chips, kuku, samaki hivi, kulikuwa na watu waliotaka pia wali, pilau ni nini. Openje alisema yeye story zao.
On the day we were eating these things,
yeah.
Had I come to...
You had left the office.
Oh, so you waited until I had left, then you guys ate
I'm not
chicken.
the one who supplied that food. But yes, perhaps the person who bought it was waiting for Siti Muga to leave. But the point here is, Openje hiyo siku alisema hii maneno ya keki, si ya keki, hii maneno ya mchele, sijui chips, hiyo, from where he comes from haelewi mambo.
Wali.
Yeah, wali. So ilibidi mtu ameenda akakoroga ugali, akaletewa na akapatiwa sasa kuku, na nilikutaka kuku ya kienyeji. Hizi kuku za wazungu zenye zinazungukanga hivi kwa nini atakangizo. Atakanga ile imekimbizwa hivi, ikashikwa, ikaangukiwa, ikachinjwa, ikatolewa manyoya kwa maji moto. Hizo ndizo anapenda. The one that you have to boil for 2 hours before it is actually served. So that is exactly what we did for Openje. Feeding Openje is a problem.
So you boiled that chicken for 2 hours?
Yeah, it had to be boiled for 2 hours so it can soften.
And you witnessed that boiling?
I was there when it was being done, City. I'm talking about something this is first personal experience. I watched it.
It's your lived experience.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so Openje atasumbua tu leo kwanza, leo ni birthday yake. Anyway, it is exactly what...
He needs to understand in an African setting.
Yeah.
When it's your birthday, it's you who gives people things.
Right.
Yeah,
so oh, really? In an African setting?
During your birthday, when you have a birthday, you're a person who has children. Do children give you presents or do you buy them things?
Well, my children don't have money to give me presents, but they wouldn't buy. But they give me lots of kisses and hugs.
They're smart children.
Right.
And they know how to bribe a father.
But on their birthdays, let's talk about that on a different occasion. Today being Monday, 15th December 2025, we want to talk about fake IDs in Kenya and of course versus the vetting process of how people are being given identification cards, or rather being given Kenyan identity cards and certificates, perhaps birth certificates and all. We do have the senior officer, Namati Kenya, and he's a human rights advocate. Moses Gowi, karibu tena sana to Radio Generation.
Thank you so much and good morning.
Karibu sana. Let's talk about Namati Kenya. What is Namati Kenya?
So Namati Kenya is an organization. It's a human rights organization that works on environmental justice and also advancing citizenship access rights. So we work through a model where we work with community paralegals who are community members themselves. Some of them have faced challenges with regards to access to documentation. So the community paralegals work with clients who face different barriers to accessing nationality documentation, and they support the clients through this process through empowering them, educating them on the law, educating them on the processes of acquiring nationality documentation and what is required, and then support them through the whole process, and ultimately they end up getting nationality documents. So that's the work that we do. We work in 4 counties, that is Garissa County, with an organization called Akina Sheria, so we work with partners. We work in the coast with an organization called Aki Center, that is Kwale, Mombasa, and Kilifi. We work in Isiolo with an organization called PWHE, Pastoralists for Women, Health and Education. And we also work in Nairobi with the Nubian Rights Forum, with the Nubian community, who also face significant challenges with regards to access to nationality documents.
Yeah. I've noticed that several of those places you've mentioned are, marginalized areas. You've spoken of Isiolo, Garissa, where populations in those particular areas can be considered to be marginalized. But now here in you said Kilifi? The coast?
Kilifi, yes.
Kilifi and Lamu, right?
Yeah. Kilifi, Kwale, and Mombasa.
Kwale, thank you.
Yes.
I didn't think that those areas have got people who have issues as far as attaining IDs is concerned.
In fact, the really significant issues in a place like Kwale, for example, to start with, there's the border at Lunga Lunga and also this other side of Samburu. So Kwale, until recently, had only 2 registration centers for IDs and birth certificates. So say if you're living in Kinango, you had to go all the way to Kwale town to register for an ID.
Yes.
The same applies to someone who's living in Lunga Lunga. So only 2 registration centers, a county as big as Kwale, the size of Kwale. And that problem is systemic across Kenya, not only the counties that we work. We only cover these counties because, as you say, most of these communities have been marginalized over the years. But the demand is so much. In fact, according to statistics by the World Bank, around 5 million Kenyans, or that translates to about 1 in every 10 Kenyans, are underserved when it comes to getting IDs or face significant systemic barriers when it comes to accessing IDs. So even in Nairobi today, I think Nairobi has the most coverage in terms of registration centers, but there are people still, as I mentioned, we work with the Nubian communities and even people in informal urban settlements who still face significant struggles with accessing IDs. So the problem is systemic, and regardless of region, there are people who are still denied or face significant delays when it comes to getting IDs, birth certificates, and even passports.
In this country, when you're born, well, at least as far as I can remember and know, because again, like I said, I have 2 kids, so I remember very well where the hospitals in which they were born, tulipatiwa ile kitu inaitangwa birth notification. It has the details of the parents and then of course of the child. And I got their birth certificates fairly easy because there's like a process where you apply for that birth certificate online and you're told on a certain date, come and pick it. Mi sikuwa na shida yoyote.
Where were the children born?
One was born in Kajiado County, another one in Nairobi County.
Okay.
Yes.
Some of these areas that you speak of, even that health care may not be as readily available as you would wish it to be. And you will find that some of them are fairly sparsely populated areas, and people live very, very, very far from where it is that you can get this service. When you talk of a marginalized place, all the things that you take for granted here, take the view that they do not have it. You just think of anything that you would easily get. Kajiado is near town. There's some remote parts of Kajiado that are not near town, and they would face the same problem. What I wonder about Moses is this. If the idea is to actually register people, we'll come to some of the problems, the historical problems that lead to these issues, but why must people come to you? Why can't they go to the people? We have politicians who round up people and tell them to come for rallies, and they do.
And they pay them to come to those rallies.
Yes, these same politicians, if it was a question of registering people, they are the same people. After all, it is them who've been elected by these very same people to represent them. Is there any better representation than ensuring that your citizens are identified or have the identification details of being Kenyans?
Yeah, thank you, CT, for raising that. And that's precisely the issue that we try to advocate for, bringing services closer to the people through things such as mobile registration. Now we know that IBC has kicked off the voter registration exercise. When it comes to voter registration and elections, you find that it's a very complicated process as well, sometimes even more complicated than registering a birth. But these devices are resourced, and they're brought to, say, a primary school close to where these people live. So the same can be done with regards to registration processes. But what we've seen is that registration has been chronically under-resourced. There's no allocation for, say, registration, new registration centers, or even providing for mobile birth registration exercises and services that bring these services closer to the people are very under-resourced, and there's no deliberate attempt by the government to bring these services closer to the people. So what happens then is that the burden is placed on you as a parent. For example, you say that you, when your child was born, you went and you got the birth notification at the hospital. So the burden is on you to make sure that your child is registered. The government only offers the office for you to go there. The government doesn't take the initiative to ensure that people are registered.
I actually applied online. When I got the birth notification, I filled the details online, uploaded it, and then a few days later, I think a few weeks later, I picked the certificate.
But remember, you're in Nairobi and Kajiado. As CT has mentioned, some of these regions are very far-flung. And people are using, even mobile phone penetration is
a problem.
Low. And even network issues. We were in Isiolo recently at a place called Sericho. For you to make a phone call, there's a particular place that you have to stand, and your phone has to be on loudspeaker, so everyone who is around there
can hear your
communication, can hear conversation. So when you require these people to register on eCitizen, it becomes a problem. Then again, remember, for you to use eCitizen, there's the 50 shillings convenience fee.
Yes.
In addition to that, for you to apply for birth certificate, there's a fee that you pay, around 250 shillings at the moment. So for people in rural areas whose income is a problem, then this also becomes an impediment, the issue of fees and the issue of also some people are born at home. You don't get access to the birth notification that when you're born in the hospital, you can get the birth notification. So when you're born at home, the chief is supposed to be able to assist you to get a birth notification. But sometimes this doesn't happen, and some children remain unregistered because of these challenges.
You actually make me realize how easy I've been having it over the years. And it's a sort of privilege, for lack of a better word. But if these communities know, because they know it is a problem they deal with, because it is them who experience it on a daily, why for example, you've mentioned very rightly that the chief needs to help you get this particular birth notification. It's been 62 years since we gained independence, surely. Why are we still talking about this problem?
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes to resourcing and investment in public education to just create awareness on the need for people to even have these documents. Because when you're struggling to put a meal on the table, sometimes documentation that you need to pay for becomes also an extra burden on you as a parent. So there's need for sensitization through conversations such as this that we're having to reach those communities, of course, in the vernacular radio stations, on just the importance of having these nationality documents such as birth certificates, but also deliberate efforts by the government to devolve these services to the people where they are. As you say, when politicians do campaigns and meetings, they go to where the people are. Why can't we take these services to where the people are and ensure that, because something like a birth certificate, now the government has put in place a policy of issuance in one day. So if you go to a place where people can be served and get birth certificates in a day, you've solved problems for so many people. So devolving these services and recognizing the challenges that people are facing and bringing the services closer to the people would be one solution, but also making the processes easy. For example, now the processes are online. Why don't you have considerations for people who might not have access to the internet, also create an easy way for them to attain these documents without requiring access to internet. And you might think that these problems are only in the marginalized areas. So the government, when they were bringing in the process of application through eCitizen for birth certificates, they did a pilot in Nairobi, where they were trying to see what will be the uptake level or what will be the success rate if we are putting these services exclusively online. So to our surprise, or to the government's surprise, when they did the pilot in Nairobi, only 40%, they achieved a success rate of only 40%. And that is in Nairobi, where you'd expect that people perhaps have the money to pay for the fees, and people have access to internet, and people can get healthcare services where you get this birth notification when your child is born. So if Nairobi has a success rate of 40%, how about Lamu? How about Isiolo? How about Mandera? How about Wajir? So those are some of the persistent challenges that still face communities and even the government in implementing some of these registration initiatives.
You know, it's a false challenge. Yes. Why I'm saying it is a false challenge is this. We have an entire department that deals with the registration of people. They don't have another job. Their job, they don't supply water, they don't supply school books.
That's the only job they do.
That's the only job they do. Registering these individuals we call Kenyans.
Right.
Okay? I'm looking at a case of something that I saw in Migori County when I was getting this new generation, not the latest, but generation ID card. The chief of Migori town was my friend. And there's something he told me and showed me, the number of IDs that had not been collected. There were many. There was a cabinet, drawer after drawer after drawer.
IDs.
IDs not collected. Mine took a month and I got it.
What took a month? So when you registered as a Kenyan?
No, I wasn't registering. I was getting a new. You know, these IDs have changed.
The new generation ID now.
Yeah, there's one which is newer than the one I have. That one I don't have. But when I was getting the newer one, the one that looks like a debit card.
Kuna ile ilikuanga ni laminated, sio hiyo.
No, sio hiyo.
Forget ile lamination.
No, this one which looks, I told you, looks like a debit card. That one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, my mind then went back to I got the laminated one. The people who issued those IDs came to the school I was the headmaster in. They came to the school.
Yes.
The equipment. This is, I think, 1998 there. Students who had brought their birth certificates and could show their age. Nobody asked me for any of that because I had the old ID. But I got that ID that day, as did very many of my students who are of age
and colleagues.
Okay? That exercise took something like 3 hours. Done. Now, why am I giving this as an example? This was the previous century. You are telling me that now, in this previous century, something which could be done in the previous century cannot be done now. NHIF would come to people to register them. If you have a large enough group of people and you notify them, they will come to you to register you and explain to you all these details. Do what? Come to you. These are government services. Now, again, when you have witnessed a situation where the government takes the service to the people, you ask, at a time when we have a lot more going for us. One, transportation is easier because the Chinese and the Indians revolutionized our transport by bringing in the piki-piki.
And the tuk-tuk.
It's revolutionized. You can go to places ordinarily you couldn't go to. Why is it now that with all these improvements, getting people registered is harder than it was previously? Why?
You've mentioned about when the people who register people came to your school.
Yes.
They also came to, when I was in Nairobi school, walikuja katuambia nyinyi wote wenye attain the age of 18 by a certain, I think it was by the end of December.
Yes.
Come register.
Yes.
So a lot of even my friends who are 17 waiting to get to 18, tulienda tukaregister na tukapatiana vidole na tukaambiwa on January, sometime January huko 1st, 2nd, 3rd after country imefunguka after the new year, come and pick your IDs. And I remember we all went to Westlands Chief's office and we picked our IDs.
Okay.
And it was such an easy process.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's true. And I also went to Nairobi school, so it's good to know that
you're a Pacherian.
We are Pacherians.
Right.
So and what Mugai said is also true.
Right.
There are moments where registration has happened at the school level. So the registration officials come to the school and you're able to be processed, and it's fairly an easy process. But remember, the area that you mentioned is Migori, you mentioned Nairobi, and there's a thing called vetting. So vetting was a process where for some communities or some areas of Kenya, you are subjected to an extra process for you to apply for an ID. So even in Nairobi school, when the registrars come, and you are from, because Nairobi school had people from all over
It's
Kenya.
a national school.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it had people from all over Kenya. So if you're from, say, Mandera or Garissa, the process that you went, you are being registered by at that moment will be different for the process that someone from Garissa is being registered for because of this thing called vetting. So vetting is puts extra requirements on an ID applicant because of either ethnicity or of where you come from, or because of your name. Then you needed to be subjected to some extra process. So if you met the requirements where you're from the so-called accepted areas, so you're or ethnic tribes, then the process of application becomes fairly easy. Not until recently, when they introduced fees, then that also became an impediment for some people, but that has also been removed temporarily. So as much as it was easy for you, it doesn't mean that it was easy for another person, because the processes are different. If you're from the main ethnic communities, or you're from certain regions, then you had an easy process. The community in Kibra here, they're called the Nubians. The Nubians have lived in Nairobi for the longest time. They're the original inhabitants.
They actually lived here longer than most of the people who live in Nairobi.
Exactly. And even today, there are people who are as old as 20, 40, 30 years old who don't have IDs because of this process that was called vetting.
Can you tell us what is in the vetting process, if you know?
All right. So what used to happen, because vetting now has to, the whole process was that for you to apply for an ID, you first had to appear before a committee. So if you are Somali, if you are... generally, if you have a Muslim name, because we have seen cases where there are people in Nyeri, someone called Osman Gitonga, then he has to go through this process of vetting. Yeah, it's an ethnic Kikuyu, but you have a name.
You're called Jamal Kimani.
Yes. For
so
example,
now they
Jamal
have to confirm.
Kimani, yes. So they have to do this extra verification process.
Right.
So how vetting happens is that in the old process, you had to now, for example, if I'm called Jamal Kimani and I've come to apply for an ID, or I'm from the Nubian community and I've come to apply for an ID, I had to appear before a committee. This committee consisted of a village elder from my community. If I'm Somali, say it's a Somali village elder. It comprised of security agents, that is DCI and NIS, and sometimes military intelligence, depending on the area that you're coming from. It comprised of the civil registration, so those are the people who register births and deaths. It comprised of the NRB official, that's the National Registration Bureau, who register IDs, and also the chief of the area that you come from. So when you appear before this committee, they ask you certain questions, basically putting the burden on you as the applicant to prove that you're a Kenyan.
So this committee sits where, in Nairobi, or it sits in my village?
Depending on where you're applying. So if you're a Nubian, it will sit in Nairobi, in Kibra. If you are you come from Mandera,
it will sit in
your village in Mandera.
Okay.
So because this committee is comprised of, you've had so many people from different departments, regular sittings are rare. So they only sit together at particular moments. So before you can apply, you have to wait for them to sit, and then you present yourself. So the Kenyan constitution requires that you're a Kenyan citizen or you're eligible to apply for an ID, so long as you have a copy of your birth certificate and a copy of one of your parents' ID card.
Yes.
So for you to appear before this committee, you've met that criteria that you have these documents.
Yes.
This proof of citizenship as a Kenyan citizen. And now, they're not vetting your documents. They're vetting you as a person. Ordinarily, for any other person, for example, you only provided your birth certificate and copy of your parents' ID, and you're good to go. This person, who is a Nubian or who's called Jamal Kimani, has provided an ID and a copy of their parents, a birth certificate and a copy of their parents' ID, but they still have to go through this panel who ask them extra questions. So just to ascertain that they're really Kenyan, essentially putting the burden on them to prove that they're Kenyan, rather than using the documents that were provided by the same government. Because your ID is provided by who?
The government.
The Kenyan government. Your parents' ID, your parents' ID is also provided by the Kenyan government. So rather than vet your documents and ascertain that your documents are genuine, you need to you can be processed for an ID. You had to appear before this committee, and they'd ask you several questions. Why are you applying for an ID? Why?
What do you mean why? I am applying for an ID because I'm a Kenyan.
Yes. So basically asking you questions that need to spook you so that you present in something that can disqualify you for being in Kenya, regardless of having the necessary documents.
So let's say that I have appeared before this committee, all right? So my name is Jamal Mongala.
Yes.
So nimekuja hapo nikaulizwa, why are you applying for an ID? I'm applying for an ID because I am now over the age of 18. I need an ID.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yes.
So what other kind of questions do they ask? Because they sound nonsensical.
Yeah, they're really nonsensical questions because there's no basis for asking you these questions. You have the documents that prove that you're eligible to apply for an ID. You should be processed. For example, what we've documented for the Nubians, because the Nubians have there's some Nubians in Uganda.
Yes.
There's some Nubians in Sudan. So you can be asked a question such as, have you ever eaten matoke? Matoke is a meal that is presumed it's eaten by Ugandans.
Right.
So they're trying to see, do you have some connection to Uganda? So if you answer that you've eaten matoke, then that becomes, pia wakisi wanakula matoke. So if you answer that you've eaten matoke, it becomes suspicious and a basis to question you.
Sure.
If you are from Garissa, you can be asked a question such as, have you ever made a phone call to Somalia? So I mean, people. Nowadays we have technology. There's WhatsApp. You meet people on social media. You can make a phone call to Somalia. If you have made a phone call to Somalia, you become suspicious. You can be asked a question like, based on your hair. Wengine wetu tuko na nywele ngumu. Some have soft hair. You can be asked, why is your hair soft? Issues like inoculation mark. Do you have an inoculation mark
for BCG?
For BCG, things like that.
Yeah.
So they're really questions that are neither here nor there, questions that are unrelated to your identity. Sometimes you're asked to provide extra documents that are not even associated with the ID process. You need to provide title deeds, you need to provide copies of your grandparents' IDs or death certificates and things like that. Extraneous documentation that other Kenyans or mainstream Kenyan communities don't go through, and yet you have the documents that show.
The Nubians have been in Kenya for over 100 years.
Exactly.
What's not mainstream about 100 years?
Yes.
No, I have an issue with them. I don't know if some of the questions you've mentioned I actually have ever been asked. But if you ask me something like, have I ever called Somalia?
Yeah.
Do you know at one point I actually had friends in the media who worked in Somalia?
Yeah.
And at one point, we had lots of communication with them.
Yes.
So when you ask me if I've ever made a call to Somalia, and how do I lie? Because I'm thinking that if I say yes, I'm disqualified from being a Kenyan.
And those are the questions that I ask.
You think that is ridiculous? You never worked for the government and never went for an interview to be promoted. Some of the questions you asked, you actually wonder, I thought they were going to ask me questions about what I do.
Yes.
Who is the permanent secretaries for the Ministry of Social Affairs? You ask the who?
Yeah. Am I supposed to cram these people?
Yes, you're supposed to.
Memorize them.
All right, who is the Minister for Education? You probably know.
Yeah.
There are certain colonial legacies that we've stuck with. These were colonial categorizations. The Nubians were brought here to help the British Army fight that First World War.
Okay.
That's why the 100 years we're talking about plus. Okay? The issue with Kenyans of Somali origin are rooted not in the Shifter War. No, the Shifter War came about because they were already marginalized by the colonial government.
Yes.
The colonial government also marginalized the African, and there was a pass called a kipande, which you had to have to restrict movement. To understand it, just look at South Africa and what they call the Bantustans, where these guys actually go and create an enclave within the country, in the middle of South Africa, until you in Inchienu, sasa kaini huko. We see the same thing with the USA, with the people we refer to as the Native Americans, where they decide, okay, guys, what we're going to do, you need your own land. So they look for some really inhospitable piece of land and tell you, now this one is now yours. Yes. And then they discover that that place is so rich in minerals, they start finding ways of how they can deal with you to get you out of this place. What am I saying? They are colonial hangovers that we need to look at, not because we think it is the right thing to do, but it has been the right thing to do for a very, very long time, from the moment we got independence.
Yeah.
Okay? The Somali people in North Kenya the northeastern part of Kenya who wanted to secede did not want to secede because they just woke up in the morning and left. They had been marginalized by policy. By policy. There was a colonial policy that marginalized them. So for them to move from what they call the Northern Frontier District, which is considered unproductive, essentially a complete waste of time. My friend, even leave there to come to Nairobi. God. The African, why do you think the African was put in what we call Eastlands? To even come into town, look at the structures of the buildings. The houses that were meant for the African was a room. It was to discourage you from bringing a family to live there. It was meant for you to work and then you separate. Look, this problem is a deliberate problem by people who have been in power. There is absolutely no reason why this thing should not have been sorted out a long time ago. Successive governments have not been willing to sort out these things.
Yeah.
All right.
We've had the Makonde, who are considered a tribe.
Yes.
The colonialists said, you know, especially the Nubians, they're not really tribalized. They're untribalized. The solution was to make them a tribe.
Yeah.
And once they're a tribe, then you know exactly who they are. And their ancestry is known.
I actually had a friend, a Nubian friend, he alikuwa anaitwa Kasim. Kasim was one of the most legitimate Kenyans I actually knew. He understood the culture and had integrated completely with the surrounding culture. Like Kasim ni Mkenya halisi 150%. So why you would deny such a person an ID for me is beyond me. Yeah.
And what Muga has mentioned is these are systemic issues. The system is designed to work in that way, to make some sections of Kenyans to be considered as others. So this othering and putting the burden on you to prove your Kenyanness, as you say, Kasim is required to prove his Kenyanness when he's presenting as a Kenyan. He's lived in Kenya his whole entire life. He doesn't know anywhere else to call home, rather than Kenya. And as Mugas mentioned, an ID is basically what enables you to move within Kenya. So if you don't have an ID, you're basically confined to your area. There's a person who, because they didn't have an ID, even going to CBD, he hadn't been to CBD is almost 40 years now. Yet since he turned 18, he hadn't been to CBD because he doesn't have an ID, fear of arbitrary arrest, harassment all the time. So those are the implications of this systemic issue, which has been in place for close to 60 years, where people are denied IDs, denied these vital documents that they need for their day-to-day lives because they are considered or they put up this extra burden of need for proof is put on them. And it's not only an issue affecting the Somalis or the Nubians, and majorly we've focused on discussing it on the lens of the Somalis or the Nubians. But I've mentioned Isiolo. The communities that are living there are the Boranas and even Merus and Samburus. And these people are equally affected by these problems. As I mentioned when we began, about 1 in 5 or 1 in every 10 Kenyans. So in this studio, maybe we are 20 people. So 2 of us, by that statistic, would have been impacted by vetting and the problems, the impacts that has had over the decades. And remember, this because this thing has happened over the decades, it's also generational. So if me as a parent am denied an ID, of course my children can get documentation as well. So it's a cycle that continues over the years. With that comes poverty, access to public services, even being confined in your own kind of like counties and not being able to move. So it's a big problem. And fortunately, the government has also admitted that the old vetting process that I described, where you had to appear before a vetting committee and you are asked all these manner of ridiculous questions, and of course it led to delays and even sometimes absolute denial of IDs. The government admitted that this process was discriminatory when President Ruto abolished vetting committees. It was an admission by the government that this process was discriminatory, and they began sort of like the process of reforming it and brought in a new sort of like way of applying for IDs for these people. So the new process now, which still mirrors the old vetting process. What is so how it came about is that in 2024 in May, the president announced that in April he announced that vetting, as I've said, vetting is a discriminatory process. It denies genuine Kenyans from accessing IDs. So now we are going to abolish vetting committees. So that's the committee that comprised of village elders, NRB, CRS, and all that that used to appear before to apply for an ID. So they abolished that committee. That committee now no longer needs you no longer need to appear before that committee. So when they abolished that committee, they brought in new regulations, and these new regulations were came into effect on May 1st, 2024. So these new regulations now brought in a different process for you to apply for an ID. So if you're called Jamal Mwangala, then you needed to apply for this. Is what now applies right now. So right now, when you're 18, of course, you need to have the proof of documentation, proof of citizenship, which is basically, or proof or eligible documents that you are Kenyan, which is basically a birth certificate and a copy of your parents' IDs. So what you do now, you go to your chief, your village chief. Okay? So the chief does for you an introductory letter saying that I know Jamal Mwangala is a member of this community. I've known him for this. So basically just ascertaining that they know you. And then the chief has to do an additional thing, which is put their own thumbprint on the letter. So after the chief has put their own thumbprint, your parent also needs to put their thumbprint, a physical thumbprint. Okay. So after that, this letter, you go to the NRB now, National Registration Bureau, with the same document, the letter and the documents, that is your ID and your birth certificate and a copy of your parents' ID. So you go to NRB. NRB then do their own verification, and then now you go back to the chief again for re-verification. So after that, the documents are now taken through DCI NIS to
Yes.
also do their own
Vetting.
security checks, vetting essentially. So what the process has done is the departments that you're dealing with are still the same as was in the old vetting committee. What it has done is it's removed the physical vetting committee and it's devolved the process into stages, sort of like in the back door. That is still the same process, but now you don't have to appear through this committee
And
but
answer
your
ridiculous questions.
And answer ridiculous questions, but your documents are still taken through the same process, which still is similar to the old vetting. And additionally, what this new process has done is placed extra burden on chiefs, because the chief now bears personal responsibility by putting their thumbprint there. If any person who is not a Kenyan citizen, the chief bears personal responsibility, and the chief also has a lot of power, because the chief can refuse to put their thumbprint on your application document.
Now, what happens if the chief is a new one? Let's say for whatever reason the previous one isn't there, maybe he passed away or she passed away. And so now I have to meet this new guy who probably doesn't know me. Now what happens?
So those are the challenges.
But ask yourself a simple question.
Yes.
How are chiefs appointed?
How are they appointed?
Well, you apply like every other government job, but chiefs tend to come from the areas where they are
The
chiefs.
community.
Yes, that's where they come from.
For example,
so the issue of people not knowing you, he doesn't have to know you. He may know your parents, but you will be known. There are people who can vouch for you even within the community, because even within our communities, they still have headmen, mijikumi as they are called or something.
Kwa mfano, mimi mali naishi, it's a gated community. Aki sijui hata ofisi ya chief iko wapi.
Yeah, and now something that I didn't mention is these new guidelines apply to border and cosmopolitan areas. So cosmopolitan area is an area like Nairobi. So for you to apply for an ID in Nairobi, you need to go to your area chief.
Yes.
Most of us live in estates, and of course we live with our children. Our children are turning 18 every day. Does the chief know me, for example, in the estate that I live in? The chief doesn't know me.
For instance, even just applying for this thing we call nini inaitwaje kitu? Passport. I remember when I was applying for mine, but that was a long time ago. I remember I had to go to, because I'm Catholic, I had to go to a Catholic priest to literally approve this. So uzuri, my priest knows me.
Yeah.
But beyond that, man, I was like, sasa huyu chief hata ako wapi?
Yeah.
But so for me, I'm looking at that is a challenge, man.
Yes. So placing this responsibility on people such as chiefs, the chief might not know anyone. So the thing that needs to happen is that the documents that are provided, if it's a birth certificate, this birth certificate is provided by the government. My parents' ID is provided by the government. These documents should be enough to support my application. I don't need to face a chief, for example. Of course, the chief has a role to play.
Yes.
But if the chief sees that I have...
What is the chief's role?
The chief's role is basically certifying that they know you, because they have to do what we call an introduction letter, basically, and put their thumbprint there that this person that is being processed, I know their whereabouts or their lineage, and they're okay to go with the process. So if you have valid, because if you have a passport, for example, it's a valid government document. For you to travel, they just certify your passport and then you travel. Why now? Because I have government issued documents, I'm unable to apply. I need to go through a chief. I need to go through this extra process to apply for an ID. So that's the problem, that certain sections of Kenyans have to go through a different process to apply for an ID, while other sections of Kenyans find it easy. As you say, you got your replacement within a day. You are processed in school and you got your ID fairly easily. That should be the process for all Kenyans. There doesn't need to be this differentiation where some sections of Kenyans go through some extra scrutiny, while some sections of Kenyans find it fairly easy, which is the right way.
Why we still uphold a colonial mindset when it comes to these things? Something I wonder. There are those who argue that once we had the advent of terrorists, Al-Shabaab and their ilk,
Al-Qaeda,
all those fellows, that again, the so-called filtering system was for that reason. But they came the other day. from 1962 in the interim, there was no Al-Shabaab, there was no Al-Qaeda, and the rule still persisted. You see, sometimes we look at the problem and its symptom, not the origin, not where it is that it emanated from. For instance, how do you think these terrorist groups come about? You are talking about a terrorist group called Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab. In the 70s and 80s, we had these groups in Latin America, the Shining Path. Oh yes, in Japan they had a group. In Italy,
Yakuza.
They had Yakuza, organized crime. These were people, young people who considered themselves revolutionaries, but they were labeled what? Terrorists. Germany had their own. This is a phenomenon that happened then. What I'm saying is, you have to ask the question, why during this period did we have these groupings of people? Let me bring it back home. In that same period of time, mostly in urban centers, you had gangs. That same period of time, 70s, 80s, we had gangs. They're back.
Yeah.
We had not heard of gangs for a long time, but now they're back. So what is it that has happened that has brought about a problem that we thought had come to an end, and now they're thriving? And they're not only in cosmopolitan areas, you find them even in the rural areas now. And they have names and they're identifiable. Why?
Yeah.
If somebody chose to, they could label those fellows terrorists as well. But yet there's another problem also with identification. Let me talk about a region that I know. I told you about people who had never picked their ID cards, which I saw. But there are very many young people even in those areas, the western part of the country. I'm talking about a place that I know, who simply don't bother to register.
Yeah.
It's not that it's far away. No, it's not that it's not. They simply do not want. It's like they've decided they are not going to register.
Yeah.
Have you come across this, and have you looked at the reasons why such people don't want to register?
So I think because the law provides that when you are 18 you need to register, and if you fail to register then you're liable to some penalties. So like with any other case, the criminal things that happen which sometimes you don't have control over. So I can't speak to that because of course, the people who deliberately choose to not register, and then we cannot push them to register. For us, we're trying to support people who need to register, but because of these systemic barriers, they cannot get IDs. So,
I bring it up.
It's
interesting because, again, some of the reasons I heard was if something happens and I have an ID, they can easily trace
Yes.
Okay? It's the reason given.
Yeah.
So they're alluding to a crime they haven't committed yet, but hoping that in the future, should a crime be attached to them?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's the same logic that was used for denying people in northeast Kenya, that these people may likely be subversive, may likely be this.
Yeah.
Yet in one place where people who self-identify as being people who may have a problem with the law, they choose not to have an ID. But for them it is available and they can have it.
Yeah.
And others who you cannot really identify an entire community as being a community of terrorists.
Yeah. And that is something that we also use in our advocacy with the government. We always tell the government that it's better when you have citizens who are registered and whose identity is verifiable and who you can locate in cases where, say, such unfortunate incidences of insecurity happen. So it's better to register citizens rather than deny them. Because if you deny someone an ID, you cannot verify their identity, you cannot verify who they are, and you cannot trace them in cases where such unfortunate incidences happen. So it's better to have citizens registered. How do you have citizens registered? You make the processes fair and consistent and easy for people to register without having in place these barriers such as vetting, even the new vetting process that still puts a lot of scrutiny or back-end sort of like verification processes on ID
But Moses,
applicants.
if somebody asks for your birth certificate, your parents' ID, that in itself should make it possible for you to be identified, isn't it?
Yes.
there's
Maybe
a trail.
perhaps, yeah.
Yes.
Maybe perhaps they think that you took Moses' parents' IDs and then presented them as your parents. So you end up getting ID Akina Moses.
It is true, I may even do that. But remember, the chief has to put a thumbprint and there
verify.
There is a way. It's not as though you are verifiable proof. No, you can. It can still be determined who you are.
Yeah, and it's also not that you simply submit it, because you can submit documents today, but there's still a process that NRB, because you said there are departments that their sole job is to do registration, and they have their own processes of finding out if, for example, you're not presenting the correct documents. So if they are verifying your documents, then that's okay, because some people might present maybe you borrow a parent and you use another parent's document. So it's the responsibility of NRB to prove that these documents that you provided are not documents that are linked to you. So that's okay, because the government has to do their own verification processes. The NRB has that responsibility to do verification. But now the problem comes where you provide legitimate documents. These are your true parents. This is your true birth certificate, but you're still subjected to this extra verification and extra delays in access to nationality documentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
This story, I'm sure you know about it from last week.
Yes.
The ID scandal as presented by the Standard newspaper, where they said there's identity theft. The arrest of 26 suspects in a fast-growing citizenship for sale racket has added fresh urgency to concerns that President Ruto's decision to scrap security vetting for ID applicants in northern Kenya and other border counties has opened a dangerous loophole. What do you think about that headline?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd say it's true that one of the systemic issues that also leads to people not accessing or challenges the ID registration process is corruption.
Yes.
So corruption comes in many forms, such as the vetting committees. They require people to pay to even appear before the vetting committees. So we've documented cases of corruption when it comes to these nationality documentation processes. Yet, what perhaps I found inaccurate with that reporting is it's trying to portray that the problem of corruption has started now when the vetting committees was scrapped. When this problem has been there over the decades, corruption has been is perhaps endemic in all sectors of our society. So the issue of corruption didn't start now after the scrapping of vetting. It's been there. It's always been there. So that headline was misleading by trying to portray the vetting or the scrapping of vetting committees as the loophole that perhaps precipitated these corruption instances. Okay. And if you look at some of the 29 people who were arrested in relation to those that ID syndicate, most of them are based in Nairobi. And not even, and I'm not saying that corruption doesn't happen in say, Wajir, Garissa, or some of those northern frontier, or even in the coast region where people are denied IDs. Most of these cases were based in Nairobi, and we know that corruption, when say the delays, or for example when there's been a backlog of passports for 5 to 6 months, people resort to corruption to expedite their applications, which in itself we are not condoning, but we know that these things happen.
It's happening.
And we cannot simply say that because vetting was scrapped, then now corruption is happening.
All right. Yes. Moses, we have come to the end of the show, but thank you so much for having this conversation with us. Perhaps you can let us know how we can get in touch for the listener who probably could be going through this process and they're being frustrated by it.
Yeah, so thank you so much for providing us the opportunity and the time to discuss these issues. As I mentioned, Namati Kenya works with partners. One of the partners across the regions, we work in Nairobi through Nubian Rights Forum. So if you are facing ID challenges in Nairobi, you can reach out to Nubian Rights Forum, where we have community paralegals who can support you with your needs. We also work in Mombasa, Kwale, and Kilifi through our partner Aki Center. Aki Center also have community paralegals who similarly support individuals facing ID, birth certificate, and passport registration or even death certificate challenges. In Garissa, we work with Akina Sharia Initiative. Akina Sharia similarly have community paralegals. In Wajir, we work with an organization called Paranet, who can be able to support people. And in Isiolo, we have an organization called PWH, Pastoralist Women for Health and Education.
Yes.
So we also have a movement that we call My ID, My Right. Basically, kitambulisho yangu, haki yangu. So on social media, My ID, My Right handle, you can reach out to us. You can basically refer cases to us through X, TikTok, and other social media platforms.
Thank you.
We also have an SMS platform, which is My ID, My Right, where people can reach out and we can support them with regards to nationality documentation. So
all right.
Thank you so much.
As we come to an end, don't go too far though. We'll be right back after the news.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Wiper Patriotic Front will strongly oppose the bill seeking to regulate religious organizations, says its leader Kalonzo Musyoka. Kalonzo condemned the attempt to regulate churches and other religious outfits, saying the state is using the Shakahola tragedy as an excuse to clamp down on legitimate churches. The Religious Organizations Bill 2024 aims to create a legal framework for registering and overseeing religious bodies to tame cases of religious extremism.
So if they want to mess up with the church, they must first of all pretend they are doing public participation. And they are using the excuse of Shakahola. Now they are using the Shakahola excuse to regulate the entire church. I looked at the draft bill. They are a little shy about taxing, tithing, but anything the church tries to do will be subject to taxation.
Kenya's public procurement system is largely functional, transparent on paper, and governed by clear laws, but it is being undermined by corruption, poor compliance, and the persistent failure to pay suppliers. This is according to the National Secretary General of the Association of Public Sector General Suppliers, Simon Gishuki. Speaking during a Radio Generation interview on Monday, Gishuki said government suppliers are often misunderstood as trendpreneurs, yet many are legitimate businesses that have supplied the public sector for decades without engaging in bribery.
Contractors will influence elections, because we're no longer going to have, we're no longer going to have crooks in the name of governors. You cannot disown a pending bill by your previous person. And we actually need to ask ourselves, who are we electing as governors? A country or a county is a going concern. That means you will inherit the assets and the liabilities. Part of the liabilities is spending bills. So when you come and say the former governor did 1, 2, 3, you're basically becoming a crook. So we cannot be at every 5 years, we are in a new country, new independence, we start at zero. It doesn't work like that. And now contractors will push for governors who understand what business is and how to do business.
The cabinet is today expected to adopt the framework for the proposed 5 trillion shillings National Infrastructure Fund. The fund is a flagship instrument that President William Ruto says will anchor Kenya's future development by mobilizing long-term investment, safeguarding privatization proceeds, and reducing reliance on debt and taxation. Speaking during a church service in Kiambu County yesterday, President Ruto said the fund marks beginning of transformation of Kenya from a third world to a first world nation.
tunapitisha hazina maalum ya National Infrastructure Fund ambaye tutatumia kuokota pesa shilingi trilioni 5 ya kubadilisha hii nchi. And we are not joking, my friends. Hii nchi hii lazima ibadilike by all means possible. Tumechelewa kubadilisha Kenya. Tumechelewa kufukuza umaskini. Tumechelewa kufukuza njaa. Hii nchi inaweza kubadilika. Kama watu wa Singapore walibadilisha kwao, wa Korea walibadilisha kwao, wa Malaysia walibadilisha kwao, sisi tutabadilisha kwetu.
Syria's Interior Ministry said on Sunday that the gunman who killed 3 Americans in the central Palmyra region the previous day was a member of the security forces who was to have been fired by extremism. 2 U.S. troops and civil interpreter died in what the Syrian government described as a terrorist attack on Saturday. Washington said it had been carried out by an Islamic State group militant who was then killed. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation. In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation. It is The People's Breakfast is the name of the show. You are on 88.8 FM in Nairobi. In case you're in Mombasa, then it's definitely 90.7 FM. If you are online, karibu tena sana. We are live on all our platforms. That is at Radio Generation Kenya, across all of them. And particularly if you're on X, it is at Radio Gen KE. Thank you so much. If you have joined us through those particular platforms, you can also let us know unatutizama ukiwa wapi. Najua kuna watu wako Philippines, najua najua kuna watu wako Philippines, najua kuna watu wako US, najua kuna watu wako Qatar, najua pia kuna watu wako hii sehemu nyingine city anapendanga kutuambia about mbona situ naniangalia hivyo.
I'm waiting for you to
Cape
say.
Verde. There's someone actually who once told us that they were listening in from Cape Verde.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
they did.
And South Africa. I know I have family members in Germany watching us live and direct. So a big shout out to them. They say Guten Morgen. But sasa sijui kama Germany ni asubuhi ama ni usiku. Hiyo ndio I think no wait. Tumeachana like 2 or 3 hours na Germany, si ndio? Na Ujerumani. Yes.
It's morning there.
Yes, ndio. So ninajua kwamba watu si ati tumeachana sana. Kuna watu wanatutizama pia kutoka the United Kingdom. Specifically, I want to give a shout out to a very good friend of mine called Father Alois Kituba. Father Alois Kituba is he's a priest in France, but currently he's actually from DR Congo, or should I say Dr. Congo. But he's currently in Kenya. He has come to visit a few friends, including myself. So he's in the country na amesema anatupata loud and clear. Ni jamaa ambaye anapenda some of these conversations. As much as he's a priest by day, he keeps updating himself with matters this continent.
Are you suggesting that if a priest updates themselves with the happenings of a country, it's a unique thing?
Yeah, well, not really. I'm not saying it's a unique thing, but for someone who's literally on the northern part of the hemisphere, you would think that they have other things to do.
They do have other things to do, and they're doing it.
Yeah, but I love the fact that he's interested in matters, because, he was ordained in this country as a priest. Yeah.
Okay.
My parents were his parents during that ordination.
I see.
Walienda kumsimamia, like the way you'd have a godfather during baptism. So my parents were his godparents when he was being ordained as a priest.
Why didn't you pursue a career in the priesthood?
Me?
You?
Paul Mungala Mbuvi?
Yes.
Become a priest? Mimi sasa mimi.
Yes.
Sitia unijui, si ndio? Kuna watu wakisikia ukisema hivyo juu yangu wanasema, "Ha, nani? Mimi." Nikwenda kuja nikwambia, "Bwana we nawe." Mimi. Kiangai ndombe siwe. It's difficult. But you're right. I can actually, I don't think I would consider a career in priesthood. Siwezi toboa. Mimi ni mtu napenda mambo ya dunia sana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that whole celibacy kwanza hapo. It's a problem.
Tubadilishe topic bro. Ushasema kutosha.
Aya, a big shout out to Polite Tall Guy. Good morning from Nakuru. That is Polite Tall Guy. Good morning. Then we do have Dahira Ahmed amesema radio number 1. Yes indeed. Msemo kweli amesema tolling of roads increases cost of production, impoverish farmers, increases cost of business. You can't destroy free current roads and then craft highways to pay money getting taken out to wazungus. Okay. Robert Koros amesema insightful conversations. Thank you so much, Robert Koros. Amesema my favorite radio duo, always on top in current affairs. Plugged in from Kabarak. Big Daddy Cool amesema all the way from the land of kangaroos, Australia. Yeah, make sure wanatujua Big Daddy Cool huko. Make sure they fungulia full blast. Let them understand that indeed this is the home of hard truths and bold insights. Then there's Pacman, or is it Pukman? Also watching from Amsterdam. Amsterdam wako tuned in. Amsterdam ni wale watu wako huko Netherlands. Yeah. Uholanzi, yes. Ni Uholandi ama Uholanzi? Ni lanzi. I think ni Holanzi.
Bro, Netherlands. Tuache hapo.
All right. Watu wa Uholanzi wako mle ndani wanatutizama. Najua kuna hatuwezi kosa watu wanatuwatch kutoka Punjab hivi. So if you're in Punjab, let us know. We'll definitely give you a shout out. Now, there's something here I wanted us to talk about. Iko on the front page of the Daily Nation. We touched on it in the previous hour, the first hour rather, but we never really talked about it. Revealed the identities of Kenyans in the Russia war. Big Daddy Cool amesema kabisa tatufungulia huko hivyo kwa Australia huko watajabidi wametujua. Asante sana Big Daddy Cool. Revealed identities of Kenyans in Russia war. Names of at least 82 Kenyans lured into fighting for Russia in the war with Ukraine. Some dead, others injured, and most desperate for help to flee the war zone can now be revealed. Their distress is captured in official correspondence between the Kenyan embassy in Moscow and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So they were lured into fighting, meaning that they didn't know at all completely. Let me ask you, CT, would you today, knowing Russia is in the situation it is and Ukraine is in the situation it is, would you visit that place? Because if they were lured, it means that something was dangled before them. It was probably a job opportunity, probably tourism, because there's someone who actually said that he had gone there on a tourism visa and then ended up at the forefront of the Ukraine war. Would you travel to these countries today, City Muga? I'm asking you.
Which country?
Countries. There's Ukraine and then there's Russia.
There are people who actually traveled. I know I'm not answering your question, but allow me to avoid it before I actually answer it. To date, there are people who actually go to Ukraine. There are people who still go to Russia. Okay? But the question you're really asking me is, since I know that there's a war going on, would I not be putting myself in harm's way to go to any of these countries? Most likely, yes. But the thing is this.
Yeah.
We've had wars and we've had wars. This particular one is a puzzling one. It has gone on longer than probably the Russians expected. And it's reminding me of another war that the Russians fought in Afghanistan for over 10 years.
Yes.
And which they lost.
Who fought it? Russians?
Yes.
In Afghan?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just history.
Yes.
The circumstances were different. And the terrain in Afghanistan was different.
Yes.
But those fighters fought them to a standstill. Russia had to go back. Okay? I'm now looking at Ukraine, which was once upon a time province of Russia. Ukraine was where most of the heavy artillery that Russia had were housed and manufactured.
Yes.
The Berlin Wall fell and many other things went south with it. Okay? Right now, when people look at a history, because Ukraine was not always part of Russia.
Yeah.
And they understand that they were then colonized and then they got independence. The idea of being colonized again is something that they will resist with every fiber of their being. These small wars, unfortunately, which somebody feels it's a war that should take a very short time, okay, tend to have the likelihood of actually changing the history of nations. Who would have thought that the attack that was aimed at the Israelis by Hamas would have the repercussions that it has had, where history has actually been reversed, where the story of two people being in conflict has moved to now a country deliberately and willfully committing atrocities against a people who do not, one, were not the problem, they didn't cause the problem, and B, are suffering untold atrocities that people thought they would never see in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Okay? There are those who thought that Palestine was insignificant. It is not anymore. That war has gotten the Europeans, that union of theirs, to actually criticize the thing that you thought wouldn't happen. Criticize and say, no, guys, this is wrong.
Yeah.
This is wrong. These were allies. They've said, no, we cannot be aligned to what you are now doing.
Yeah.
Why am I giving this example? I'm looking at Ukraine and I'm looking at that war and the length of time that it has taken. You will not hear of fighting where people are fighting in whatever the provinces they are fighting in. But the moment there's a bomb of a school or a bomb dropped near a school or a hospital, see now civilians who are not combatants are being involved. That often has a tendency of shifting the sympathies that people have for that particular war.
Yes.
But the worst thing is that the reputation of Russia as a military might has been dented significantly. This is a small country.
Yeah.
And as they say in Kenya, wameweka Russia bumper.
Bumper.
There are those who argue they're being assisted. Of course they are.
Yeah.
Russia is also being assisted. Back to the question.
Yeah. Would you go to Russia?
Definitely not.
Yeah. So let me just read something here about what some of these folks said. Yeah. This is on now page 4 of the Daily Nation. They were promised harmless civilian jobs in Russia only to be forcibly conscripted to the army and sent to the front lines in Ukraine. At least 82 Kenyans are currently embroiled in Russian military operations in Ukraine, with some of them dead, others injured, and many desperately trying to escape the war zone, the nation can reveal. Official correspondence between the Kenyan embassy in Moscow and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, seen by Nation, provides the first detailed insight into the crisis facing Nairobi as its nationals are allegedly recruited to fight in a foreign war. The Kenyans were reportedly lured by offers of legitimate employment abroad, only to be forcibly conscripted into the Russian army and sent to frontline combat in Russia's ongoing conflict with Ukraine. These cases may only represent a fraction of the total. In November of 2025, Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi disclosed that more than 200 Kenyans may have joined the Russian military since the conflict began in 2022. Most of those recruited had no prior military experience. After a brief 5-day crash course, my goodness. After a brief 5-day crash course in remote Russian camps, sometimes handling firearms for the first time. They were dispatched to combat combat zones. Others, including former members of Kenya's disciplined services, were particularly vulnerable to coercion or false promises by recruiters. So you are taken to Russia. Like, ni nini uliambo unaenda kufanya Russia hata wewe na unaona kuna vita?
Well, actually, there are people who recruit within the country.
I know. I've even worked with people who recruit for universities in Russia.
Yes, and then there are people who promise non-military high-paying jobs.
Yeah. In Russia.
Yes, non-military jobs. They offer those.
How much? Do you know how much you'd need to offer me, CT?
I wouldn't know, but you're going to tell me.
Yeah, I'm about to tell you.
Please tell me.
How much you would offer me to actually take me to Russia, knowing what is happening there right now? I don't think there's an amount of money that you'd give me for me to go and to go to Russia. I honestly see Kobaya, but currently because of the war with Ukraine, I won't.
Well, when somebody offers you $1,500 or even $18,000 for a job,
this is monthly. $18,000 monthly.
Yeah, and you know that 18 should raise a red flag.
18,000.
That is something that people get paid for a year. Yes, but 1,500 salary for many people.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
You person mzuri.
For the sake of mathematics, let's even round this 18 to 20,000. So 20,000, multiply that by 130, we are talking about 2.6 million.
Yes.
It's still not enough to take me to fight in Ukraine,
well,
in Russia.
The $1,500 is enough of incentive for very many people.
Oh yeah, I know. For example, there are people here who are earning much less than 10,000 Kenya shillings.
The thing is, these agents organize everything. Whether it is the flight, the medical check, the accommodation, they organize everything for you. And you think you're going to be a driver or you're going to be working in a packaging place. That's what you think you're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay? Even things like visas, they organize all those things for you.
I'm going there to drive a DHL truck.
Yes.
Nadhani nienda kuendesha lori ya DHL mimi.
Yes, or you're going to be a cleaner.
Yes. Niende nikafanya hospitali huko ndio tunaenda kuosha.
1,500 cleaning tu, yani usafi. Yes, and so forth.
Nipanguze tu vyo hivi.
Yes.
Nipatoe $1,500.
Now, for some of these, unfortunately, these agents were even asking for a recruitment fee. You pay for 30,000 shillings.
Here in Kenya.
Nobody this new.
Munanipeleka mahali nikakufe na bado mnataka pesa yangu.
Once you arrive there, then you're taken to some very remote camps.
Where you're trained for 5 days how to hold a gun.
Yeah, those remote camps are remote. And you know, this is your first time out of Kenya.
You are going to clean.
Yes. Or if you happen to be in the military, you may have left the country, but you've never been to Russia. So essentially, you don't know where you are. And you don't know how it is you are going to leave Russia or wherever they've taken you to go back to wherever it is, Vladivostok or wherever it is that is the nearest town. You have no idea. None. So you're actually stuck.
So even former servicemen who are in the military, for example, I would get if you were in the only thing you have known is to be a military person, saluting and marching.
Yes.
So I would get why you'd even apply, like deliberately apply and tell.
You're recruited, my friend. And also remember, the payments, unfortunately, very rarely materialize.
Because, my friend, you don't make it out of there.
Even if you make it, how are you going to claim that when you can claim it? Okay. If we're looking at reports that are given by the Kenyan Foreign Affairs, they estimate that over 200 Kenyans have actually been recruited.
My question also is to our government.
But don't stop there.
Yeah.
Over 1,400 Africans from 36 countries have already gone there.
My question is to our government also. As much as, yes, I know no one is forced to go. Okay, well, in this case, they are forced.
You leave Kenya, you live willingly.
Exactly.
It's when you get there that you're forced into all manner of things.
Unaambiwa ile choo tulikwambia utaoshanga si choo, my friend. Unaenda huko kwa msitu kupambana na watu. Now, the question I have is also to our government. Because this Kenyan, before he leaves, munajua jamaa anaenda Russia. Si ati amjui. You know for a fact, there's a guy called Paul Mungala Mbuvi who has a flight on Friday, 20th December. Oh, no, it's actually 19th. Friday, 19th December. He has booked a flight, or has been booked for by whoever, a flight to Russia, Ukraine. Why do you allow this guy to leave before you actually ask him, bro, are you okay? Is everything okay? You've been told you're going to Russia to do what? I still believe that the government, in one way or another, if from what we have heard, people have been abducted off the streets because of posting a meme or two, they should actually be able to let you know, bro, ngoja kidogo. Tumeona hapa kuna ndege inatoka Friday inaenda Ukraine. Tunaona ndege inatoka hapa Friday inaenda Russia, na uko kwa hiyo ndege. Unaenda kufanya nini? Bro, unajua kuna watu wanashika huko Ukraine na wanapelekwa Russia wanapelekwa vita cha lazima. Are you sure have you verified the sources? Nini kila kitu unaenda kufanya Russia?
The Kenyan government has actually launched and has actually sent an official protest to the embassy, Kenyan, the Russian embassy in Nairobi.
Yes.
And we have an embassy in Moscow. They have actually rescued and even repatriated people who have gone there. Yes. But they've gone further.
Yeah.
It is reported there's been a crackdown on all these fellows who are masquerading as recruiters and whatever.
Agents, yes.
Yeah.
Sasa vinye, because number 3, or is it number 4? I haven't seen the government also in a place like this, Radio Generation, coming to tell us that, guys, by the way, we would like to make it known to the general public that there is this scam or scheme going on where people are being recruited unknowingly to go. If you really want to go to Russia and fight, by then no one is stopping you. By all means, go. But for those ones of you who do not know and do not want to go and fight, please, kindly, just know, you might get a job offer which is a scam. You actually might end up at the forefront somewhere holding a gun, shooting at innocent Ukrainians on the other side. And vice versa.
Well, my friend, let's go back to the origins of this and ask yourself why it is that somebody put themselves in harm's way. The questions that you should ask before you travel abroad to get a job, those are not questions that people ask themselves.
Come again?
The questions that you should ask to probe into these offers that are given for work abroad.
Yeah.
The questions are never asked adequately. You never ask about the details. Simply saying, okay, let me go to the embassy and find out. So we have a Kenyan embassy. Or we have a Russian embassy. Go to the Russian embassy and say, guys, there are these things. Then go to our foreign affairs office.
Pale kwa Musalia Mudavadi.
Yes.
But
mimi, there's this thing that happened.
Nimepata hii offer. Ninaambiwa naenda kufanya kazi kwa hospital.
Yes,
hii kitu iko.
Yes, exactly. They'll tell you, give us time. They will find out and they will sort that thing out. Yes.
Now, the reason why I'm asking this is because perhaps I'm also asking myself, is it possible that I would have fallen for this particular scam? And I realized that, yes, I would have fallen for it. Why?
You would have.
Why? Because I'm jobless. I'm a young jobless Kenyan looking for this opportunity, and here I have been offered, like you've put it, $1,500. That's roughly 200,000 Kenya shillings.
Hiyo ni pesa mingi sana.
Nikifikiria tu how I would elevate my family.
And they'll tell you they'll house you, they'll do what. So essentially hiyo money ni yako.
Hiyo 200,000 yote inaingia hivi kama imepeleka hivi kwa bibi na watoto wangu na wazazi wangu.
Yes.
So yes, I would actually fall for this. And then of course I would ask a question zile za huko Russia sinasikia mko na vita, wananiambia hapana bro. Vita mali inafanyika ni hapa hii side ya Busia kwa boda yetu na Uganda.
Hii border ya Somalia hakuna vita.
Unaenda kufanya kazi Isiolo. They even show me the map. You're going to work in Isiolo. You're safe. You're very far from the drama.
And Isiolo is very far from Wajir or Mandera. Just here.
Yeah. You're there. And like we've told you, you are going to work as a cleaner in this hospital.
And then you find they've taken you to a place called Elwak, which is not even in Wajir or Mandera.
You're smack in the middle of the war.
You are near the Sudanese border. Huko ndio umepelekwa.
Unapatiwa bunduki, unaambiwa sasa, unasema boss, siku amekuja kushika bunduki, nipatie kifagio, broom. Hiyo ndio ilinileta hapa. Mwenye unaongelesha kwanza na kuangalia hata amuelewani. There's that language barrier. He just tells you, my friend, aim, fire. So I'm saying that perhaps I would have fallen for that scam because
consider Paul, our history with these things and the scams.
Yeah.
We had a recruitment of police service individuals, Kenyans, that kept being postponed and postponed and postponed. But even as it was postponed, we heard of the sort of monies that people were being asked to pay by individuals who, again, imagine it's a Kenyan job, you're a Kenyan, which you just apply. There's a recruiter, and you're thinking, where did this person become a middleman for these things? And you hear of horrendous amounts of money that people pay. So you 100,000. Said, what? 5,000 ni kidogo. It isn't just with the police service. We've heard this with the military.
Yeah.
We've heard it even with job offers when the government has advertised for certain jobs.
Yeah.
We've heard it with the recruitment of teachers. We already have a culture where we've accustomed our citizens to paying for an interview. Not the lie is that you'll get a job. The bribe is in cash. There is no receipt, so there is no refund. And the name that you'll be given, if you go to ask, I give it to you and so, they'll tell you that person doesn't exist. The desperation that people have when it comes to jobs, I have witnessed it myself.
Yeah.
And I've been involved in cases where some people I worked with had taken money promising people what? Jobs.
Jobs.
Yes, it came about that some of those individuals didn't get the job. And it happened. There's one particular case where some lady, the husband is the one who had given her the money to offer this particular bribe. The husband said, if you have no job, I want my money back. She came to complain. And they gave the name of the person who they said they had given the money. The individual who took the money gave the name of somebody else.
Yeah.
So when that person was brought out and asked, is this the person? Said, no, not this person. So some clever person said, wait a moment. Maybe it was so-and-so. So-and-so has been living rather lavishly, rather large of late.
Yeah.
So it is very possible that. So he asked, is it possible that the person whose name is this one? Yes, that one. A completely different person.
Yes.
It seems to be a culture that we have internalized and we've institutionalized. So Kenyans are already predisposed towards giving money for jobs. So you tell them 30,000, 30,000 only.
Yeah.
To Russia. Air ticket, nini, visa, nini, arranged. Sorted. You're even given a picture of the place you're going to. And since you've never been there, you don't know whether it's a picture of some other part.
It could be a picture of somewhere in Alaska.
No, a picture of a place like that country you like mentioning about Liechtenstein.
Liechtenstein, yeah.
That one.
Liechtenstein.
For all you know, it could be that one. But since you've never been there, you can't tell. There are things that we set in motion and we institutionalize, and it's those things that are now harming our fellow citizens. There's a story that I read of a young man who apparently survived, and the reason why he survived, they went to the war front and 26 of his compadres were killed. And he survived.
Where?
Ukraine.
Okay.
He was fighting with the Russian army.
The
people he was with at the front, 26 of them were killed. And the only reason he survived was because...
he hid under dead bodies.
Yes. You've heard that story.
It's actually on page 5 of today's Daily Nation. Yeah. So it's on page 4 and 5.
So he did yes. So when you hear such stories, those comprise the horror stories that we are accumulating for our own citizens in our own country.
You know, like for example, the U.S. Army recruits internationally. The UK Army as well recruits internationally. Like you can actually apply as a Kenyan citizen to go and be drafted in those particular militaries. And a country like the US, for example, is all over the world. In some wars it has started, some it didn't start, some it found ongoing. But you will be deployed in those particular places. And you know for a fact that when you're applying to the army, chances are you are going to have to fight someone at one point, you know. But I like the fact that that one is open, it's legit, you know. Unaambiwa boss, the US Army is recruiting in this department, whether ni watu wa medical, whether ni watu wa kupika, whether ni watu wa kwenda kwa forefront huko, and so on and so forth. But regardless of whether you apply, you will have to be taught how to fight. So but those ones, you know, and you're told that this is the process, and you apply knowing very well you are applying to the army. Now, in this other country called Russia, they tell you, welcome, we're looking for office assistants. we are looking for this and these kinds of people. People are offered scholarships to go and do postgraduate programs, universities and so on, only for you to end up again in some war front somewhere that you hadn't expected. I remember a few years ago when President Ruto had just been elected. I remember there's even a time he said that he has had a conversation with Russia, and people will have jobs in Russia. And I remember even the Russian embassy here in Kenya came out and said that kuna kitu President Ruto amesema. I think perhaps he misunderstood the communication that we had given him. There are no jobs. For me, that was a cue. That so nikiona mtu wa Russia ana advertise kazi kidogo nitasema hapana. Hii kazi imetoka wapi?
Paul, is desperation. If we didn't have these heightened levels of desperation among young people, because they're not recruiting old people like myself.
Yeah.
They're recruiting young people. You will see this as an opportunity. But it's not complicated. Foreign Affairs Ministry, Ministry of Labor, these are places whenever you're given a job offer, go there.
Yeah.
Go there, verify, go to one and then go to the other.
There's someone who's actually said something on our timeline here, and it's a very legit thing. This is what 2.0 amesema. A few years ago, there were many horror stories coming from those Gulf countries, how some Kenyans had suffered. But you still could hear some Kenyans saying, we just don't care. Na ni kweli. Tulikuwa tunasikia horrific stories. Mi nakwambia mpaka hata BBC have done documentaries.
Serious horrifying documentaries?
Yes. DW.
Did it stop people from going there?
No. DW wamefanya documentaries kutoka hapa mpaka Timbuktu, showing the way people are suffering in some of these places. I remember actually one recent one from BBC where they were following the life of one specific lady. And this lady was communicating with her family here in Kenya, showing how, things are there, and she was really suffering, and she was saying, guys, I need you to rescue me from this place. And if you can do it ASAP, the better. Because as it is, every single day, things are getting worse. BBC, it's actually on YouTube. Go check it out. Ni venye sikumbuki inaitwaje, but you can find it there. And eventually this lady was rescued by, I think it was it a Nigerian or who? This lady she has now started some kind of NGO to rescue these ladies who are in those particular places. And I remember when this lady came back to Kenya, it was nothing but emotions. She cried and she was like, guys, you have absolutely no idea, And she explained her story.
How did she get to that region?
So how she got there? Same thing. Recruited here in Kenya, applied for a job. She was told this is your salary. Then she left. She went there only for things to turn out the way they turned out.
The Ministry of Labor. See, the problem we've had in the recent past is that even people within the Ministry of Labor have been accused of being involved in this process of recruitment. Recruitments that are not certain.
Yeah.
So if somebody shies away, having heard this report, that there are problems with even people in the Ministry of Labor being involved, then they'll be afraid. If you hear of reports where people even claim that high-ranking government officials are the ones who benefit from these processes by having organizations that recruit people, you see, those are things that people say, I have not seen any verification. So they remain in the realm of allegations. Why is it that people would want to risk their lives? Let's go back to what I said earlier on. The problem that we're dealing with here is one of desperation. When someone is desperate, they will do anything to remove themselves from that. And one of the things that they will do, they will cast all care and concern aside, because the focus is on this thing that they consider to be a good thing. Yet, the ministry and the department that deals with the diaspora has gone into great pains to ensure, the Ministry of Labor, the department that deals with diaspora, of ensuring that any Kenyan who leaves this country to go abroad is documented, meaning we know you are leaving the country, You will be registered with our embassies in that country. So you are known. Wherever it is you go, you are known. One then hears of stories of people who go there, and then there are recruiters even in those countries who say, there's a place you can get a better job. Now, the moment you do that, the contacts that you had and the manner in which you could be gotten in touch with, that one is cut. It's cut. So people now no longer know where you are. Because to know where you are, they know exactly who you went to work for and where you're stationed. Now, if you decide that you are listening to somebody who tells you they're going to get you a better job and you leave that place, you know, you are actually on your own and you put yourself in that position. But I'm going back to why people find themselves so susceptible.
Yeah.
It speaks of the dire depth of desperation that very many Kenyans find themselves in. A country like Philippines, because they understood the need that the US has for healthcare workers, specifically nurses and people whom the cadre we call clinical officers, they developed an institution within Philippines that trains people who meet the standards that the US has. It will be a lot easier if Kenyans had an MOU, say, with Philippines, so that this struggle isn't there. When you go there to get this additional training, you're already a nurse, you're already a clinical officer, but that additional training that makes it easy for you to fit in there, it's a one-stop shop. You are trained, you know, and the Philippines documents everything. Why do you think they have one of the highest remittances in the planet? It's because they have organized it. Either that, or we look at our KMTC and we find units within the KMTC that can actually train people to fit into that system. But remember, for you to do that, it must be certified by them, not you.
Yeah.
So when you leave there, they know this person is actually certified to work in our. The solutions to these problems exist. And it cannot be said that the government isn't doing anything. They are.
Yes.
They are. But we ourselves, with our own cleverness, every once in a while, somebody gets creative. Because these government channels are not very good. You know,
let me create my own.
know, you know, because I know so and so,
Shortcuts.
and I've been told by so and so. So you know, so and so, somebody I grew up with. So I know. And the path you choose, it is difficult for even someone to trace where you've gone to. You know, I don't want the government in my business. I really want to. And then when you find yourself in this delightfully sticky jam. And then now you want that same government to pull you out. And they actually, first of all, they ask you, what are you doing here exactly? How did you get here? There are very few places we don't have we don't have embassies. And if it isn't in one country, it's within a region.
Yes.
Perhaps the government needs to take a little more time. Labor Ministry specifically, take a little more time. With the budget lines you have, let Kenyans know how they should go about this business of going abroad.
I feel like they should be making noise on every TV station and every radio station. Put adverts on YouTube if they have to, because at least those ones, people, I know, karibu kila mtu ako YouTube saizi. Hata my own grandmother watches YouTube. So if they can have something put out there so that, you know, someone can stumble upon this information somehow.
Paul, recently,
yeah,
the Austrian embassy had a fair for the very same thing we're talking about, meaning, brought people, yes, to show the jobs that are available in their country, what you need to do and so forth. Did you even see the article in the papers?
No.
Precisely. Government involvement, media. The only media that I think went there was KBC. They deliberately held a fair where they brought in experts from their country.
Yes.
People who do these things to say these are, specifically, let's say, the hospitality industry. These are the people we need.
Yes.
We train more people than you know what to do with here. Can you follow this channel? This is a channel you follow. This is how you go about it. This is what you do. This is where you can go to learn the language in Kenya because they speak German.
Yeah.
Okay? This is where you go to learn this. This is what you do this. Now, should that thing not have hit the airwaves like a nonsense?
It should have.
So that people know.
It should have.
And the government knew about it. I'm simply trying to say that much as the government will claim, and rightfully so, that they are doing something, I'm saying it's not enough.
Thomas Solo amesema invite the Russian or it's Thomas Olo, sorry. Thomas Olo anasema invite the Russian ambassador to address the matter of Kenyans recruited to fight there.
That would be a good idea. It would be good.
We hosted the Ukrainian ambassador.
We ought to host the Russian ambassador.
Yes. So we hosted, that time he was about to leave. So now we have a new Ukrainian ambassador. So, yeah, we hosted the one who was just about to leave when we were lucky to do so. And he came here. If you can actually find that interview somewhere on our YouTube channel. That is at Radio Generation Kenya, sorry. You can find it. It was among the first interviews we ever did. And the Ukrainian ambassador had good stuff to say about, first of all, Kenyans and our work ethic. And he told us about this very thing that the Daily Nation has highlighted. Yeah. Akatuambia, my friend, people are being lied to. You're told, come, you are going to be, there's this fully paid scholarship for you to go and study and perhaps even work in Russia. My friend, unaenda jeshi. Akatuambia watu even some people in good professions, doctors and nurses and nini. Bwana, teachers, you're being recruited into the army unknowingly. And he said that some of those agents, of course, are agents of Russia, the government of Russia. So, he was telling us the way you might think that you're applying through a private entity, but my friend, that entity has been contracted by Gava to look for these folks.
If there's a website, it's them who've created that website.
Yes.
But it's made to look like it's a business, isn't it?
Right.
Yes.
So be careful if you're going to work in these particular places. So as you apply to go into Russia, and even Ukraine and anywhere else anyway, whether you're going to the Philippines or you're going to Holland or you're going to Australia or Austria, just confirm that these places, first of all, you're being taken to a legit, like CT was saying, nenda pale vo hata ukaulize, nenda kwa embassy yetu, ministry yetu, ukaulize.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
And the interesting thing is this, you can actually even call our embassy in those countries to find out if, whatever it is that you're being recruited for is legit.
You can.
Yeah, if you've been called to go up to Philippines, for example, call our embassy in Philippines and say, look, my name is Mungala Mbuvi. There's this job, there's a radio station there called Radio Filipino. Is it legit? Number one, here they are looking for a morning presenter. Is it something that actually exists? And task the Kenyan embassy there to just confirm these details for you. And Kenyans, let me not lie to you. Our embassies across the world are some of the most hospitable places you can ever find. I know there have been complaints, one or two, about perhaps how things are, but it's not everywhere. Just ask. And also, we have Kenyans in these places, whether it's in Russia or Ukraine. Can you call them up and ask them? Find out. Wezi kwa some Kenya ako Sabia, ama Siberia, umuulize, oya bro, kuna hii story nimeona hapa hivi, kitu ni legit. They'll actually be more honest than anyone else. They'll tell you, bro, don't come. Do not apply for that job. It's a scam. Chris Owora amesema, the best international radio station we have, providing solid and genuine discussions about Kenyans and international political, social, economic, cultural stories. Thank you very much, Chris Owora. Yeah, so there's also another story I've seen here about this Ukraine situation and the Russia situation. This is what the CNN, one of the CNN headlines said. As Trump states Ukraine is losing the war with Russia, officials say the battlefield situation hasn't changed significantly. Now, I don't know if you are aware of this, city, but the U.S. invaded. Is it called invaded? They walienda wakapanda meli moja ya Venezuela because lately the U.S. has been accusing Venezuela of crimes. What is this thing called? Drugs, yes. They have been accusing Venezuela of trafficking drugs into the United States. So recently, the U.S. Army did go and they boarded one of the Venezuelan oil tankers. And now Russia is giving the U.S. kichwa because of this particular situation. So Russia demanded that the Trump administration provide reasoning for the seizure of that particular oil tanker. Over the weekend, I was reading some of the headlines coming from Europe, and it's like do I call it the EU? They were saying that Europe might need to prepare for an all-out war with Russia. Now, this is the rest of Europe needs to prepare for an all-out war with Russia. And I was reading those particular headlines thinking, see, even if a World War I or II zilianza.
You know, why would the whole of Europe be at war with Russia?
Yeah, they said that they need to start thinking of it's like I'm paraphrasing here, but what those headlines were suggesting is that the point where Russia is right now, it's like they are looking for a war, a big one for that matter.
If they are being fought to a standstill by Ukraine, what would it look like to fight the rest of Europe? Why would they get in such a fight?
It's a good question.
Ukraine is one country. Europe will be the EU. There are very many countries, Chief. How will that look?
And but you know, Russia has got a very huge army.
My friend.
Now, Russia has allies.
They can have as big an army as they like. For now, I'm going to treat. That as just conspiracy theory.
Yes,
my friend. The things that get people into war. A war with Europe.
Yes,
my friend. It's suicidal. And your allies. We have a global world where all these people, whether it is China, who's their buddy, it's North Korea, who's their buddy, everybody does business with everybody.
Yeah.
And you create a war of that nature, it means now everything that people do with each other will come to a standstill because you think there is a war.
Actually, let me just read what the BBC said about this. And this is from the head of NATO. So this is the headline: Russia could attack NATO within 5 years, says alliance chief in stark new warning. Yeah?
Why 5 years?
Russia could attack a NATO country within the next 5 years, the Western Military Alliance's chief has said in a stark new warning. And this is what they quoted him, saying, Russia is already escalating its covert campaign against our societies, Mark Rutte said in a speech in Germany. And he said that we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents or great-grandparents endured. He was basically talking about First and Second World Wars. He echoed similar statements about Russia's intentions made by Western intelligence agencies, which Moscow dismisses as hysteria. Rutte's warning comes as U.S. President Donald Trump tries to bring an end to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, which was launched in Feb of 2022. That's the headline I was talking about. And it's been posted by several, but it's because, of course, the NATO chief said what he said.
That's prophesying, huh? So you're saying, sounds to me like you're looking for reasons why your budget should be increased. And why, yes,
your military budget.
Well, yes, of course, as we anticipate this war that you're talking about. But what are the indicators? Because that article, does it give details of why it is this has happened? We know very well how the Second World War began. We know how the First World War began. We know.
And Germany was at the center of both.
Yeah. You see, the thing is, it became a world war because allies got involved. That's why it became a world war.
And you see, right now, of course, Russia has perceived allies. China, North Korea. Yeah.
My friend, so does NATO.
Yep.
I will put.
But you see, and unfortunately for the ones we're talking about, those are all nuclear powers.
Yeah, but look at it this way. They're more likely to avoid a war than to start one with the EU. No. It will not be in their interest or the interest of their people, because as of now, those wars are being fought along the borders. The war hasn't gotten to Moscow yet. If that war gets to Moscow, what will then happen is the very, very people who support Putin will look and ask and say, what have you gotten us into?
Isn't it?
Yes.
You're not affecting our businesses.
Yes. I just want to mention something about Venezuela. There's a country called Panama.
Yes.
The sort of moves that I'm hearing the Americans are making are the same moves that they made with Panama. And you know what they did? They took a helicopter, went into Panama and took the President Noriega and took him to a jail in the U.S.
Yeah.
Same noises. But Panama didn't have something that Venezuela has.
Oil.
No, it's not just oil. It has one of the largest deposits of oil on the planet.
Who, Panama or Venezuela?
Venezuela.
Yes, Venezuela actually has got, they're saying it could be having more oil than even some of the Middle Eastern countries.
Yes, and not only that. All these rare earth minerals and all these minerals you like talking about, Venezuela has them. America has had a problem with Venezuela for the longest time. Long before even Maduro became president, America had a problem. Leftist leaning. It is the same logic that led to that Iraq war. Same logic which we later found there had been no weapons of mass destruction at all.
Just oil.
It was just you fight, you destroy the country, then there's a business of reconstruction. Now you pick a fight to the president. This fight has been ongoing for some time. There's an embargo. The US has some really colonialistic tendencies. That's imperialism. Yes, it is. Because Venezuela is near you, suddenly you're creating threats that Venezuela has. Venezuela has never made any moves to fight your country, has never made any moves to invade America. Suddenly, Venezuela is an enemy, and the country is an enemy. How? You create something out of thin air because you want an excuse to invade that country.
Yeah.
And for what reason? Because they have something that you want. This isn't new, and they're doing it clumsily. There are smarter ways of invading a country and finding reasons for you to
take their oil.
But why not just go into business with them? But no, when you take over the country, then you're getting everything you want on the cheap. It is that same thinking that led to these problems they have with the Middle East.
Yeah. You know, they tried actually abducting the Venezuelan president.
As I said,
last year.
These fellows are not doing something they haven't done before.
They tried abducting that guy.
The dictators in the 60s and 70s were supported by American corporations and American governments.
Yep.
And at that time, the reason was it's a bulwark against communism. That was the reason. And then the people who came into power in that wave that came in the 70s, 80s were people who were socialistic leaning. They did not care about the citizens of this country because, one, they were not only dirt poor, but those presidents whom they supported were some of the most vicious people this planet has ever seen.
Yes.
So now, all of a sudden, of all the countries in Latin America, this country that has more wealth than they know what to do with, suddenly you've decided, are exporting drugs to your country.
Yes.
All right? Since when did Venezuela have a history of even growing drugs the way other countries in Latin America have?
They actually destroyed several boats belonging to Venezuela, whether it's from the government or nationals. And those videos are actually all over. Kameli tu kanenda kanalipuliwa tu pa. Ato wacheki bwana.
Well, if there's a country that knows how to look for trouble when none exists, is this country. You're picking up a fight with people.
Yes.
Anyway, that is how they express their foreign policy.
Yes.
And as certain as I'm sitting here talking via this mic, there'll be repercussions. And I only hope that they're prepared for whatever it is they've set in motion. Yes.
Thank you very much, folks, for coming through. We are taking a bow for this particular morning. We shall be seeing you again tomorrow morning, bright and early at exactly 6 in the a.m. Eric Ninda, good morning. Nimekuona tena sana. Asante kwa kuja kuwa nasi asubuhi ya leo. To all the folks, by the way, who enjoyed this last weekend, all the way from Jamhuri Day, wenye walitandikwa pia kwa michezo ya mipira, kandanda, polente na sana. But my team is actually performing quite well. Lately, we have been on the upward rise. Tulitandika Brighton 2-0.
Your team,
yes,
as you call it,
right,
is one of those teams that are some of the best histories when it comes to not just the FA Cup,
right,
but football in Europe.
Yes.
They had a golden era when they were winning cups as if they were being given for free. But again, now this is a different era, isn't it?
All right, myself and CT tunaondoka kwa sasa, lakini msisahau Retro Box is coming up next. There's this lady called Lady Mathai with her buddy called Rania. They're coming through for the Retro Box as from 11 in the a.m. So why don't you join them and get to enjoy in their vibes as well. Right now, though, here is the news with Winnie Maganga.
This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.